Good evening to one and all present here. Thank you for joining us for the Developer Student Clubs of Ethiopia info session. My name is Omar Maitunatu. I'm a Developer Student Club lead of Development University, and my co-host is Bemirete Gezaheng, Developer Student Club lead of Addis Ababa Science and Technology University. So this is the first info session in the history of our universities, which is completely conducted on digital platforms due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope this got to end so soon. So it's my pleasure to walk you through the info session, introduce you our guest speakers and delegates that took their time to share their knowledge, experience, and enhance our mental horizon. So today's info session is all about kicking off the Developer Student Club's journey. So Developer Student Clubs are university-based community groups for students interested in Google developer technologies, students from undergraduate or graduate programs with an interest in growing as a developer are welcome. We will see more about DSC in a few minutes. Now we are proud to announce today that the program manager of Developer Student Clubs of Sub-Saharan Africa, Mohamed Awal Samu, who will be given a speech on about what DSC is and its global network. So Awal, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you have got 15 minutes. You can take the stage, please.
Okay, thank you so very much. A moment, let me share my screen. Okay, so let's do this. Just a moment. Yeah, thank you very much to the organizers. Thank you very much for an opportunity to speak in Ethiopia for a second time, or basically at this for the second time, and like in exactly 1 year, right? Last year around the same time, I was in Addis to attend the first Addis. That was a GDG event. Now we're here to discuss development clubs. It's a pleasure to be back once more, do it virtual. So my session today is to give an overview of the Developer Student Clubs program, what we do, why we were created, when we were created, and how good. My name is Awal Mohamed Samu, like was mentioned, Mohamed Awal Samu, and I happen to be the program manager for Developer Student Clubs across Sub-Saharan Africa. At the cost of this presentation, if you have any question, feel free to type in on the chat section, or AwalMS is my Twitter handle, or you can feel free to probably send me a tweet or send me a DM, whichever one works best for you. So I know I went through the attendee list and I noticed we have people who are not necessarily students, but then the slide was designed with students in mind. So there are questions. My slides often start with questions, and some of the questions I will ask here may not apply to you. If it doesn't apply to you, no worries. If you're a student, please do as much as possible to respond to the questions. My first question goes this way. How many of you students want to work in tech after graduation? So I'm going to be back on the chat section to see. Feel free to type in on the chat section. How many of you want to work in tech after graduation? Students in the house. Okay, we have 1, 2. Once we get to 5, we'll move on. 3, 4, 5. Great. Yeah, the number keeps going up, right? So that's one part of the question. So if you answer this question, please do as well as answer this. Or do you think you have all the tools you need to be employed in tech? So it's one thing to be interested in working in tech. It's another thing to be ready, right? You need to be able to, you must have had experience, you must have the tools needed and things like that. Yeah, so yeah, so I can see, I think no, not really, and things like this. So great. So the answer to these two questions, right, is basically the reason why the Developer Student Clubs program was created. So let's look at a brief history. So one thing the developers relations team at Google noticed was Every year we have openings, so internship openings for students across the world to take on a role as a software engineering intern at Google. And not only Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and literally almost every company usually has the opening, this role that is open to students, right? We often get multiple applications. Many people apply to become to be interns, but then when they get to the interview, we notice, yes, even though they have good grades from school, they literally have no technical experience, no practical experience. Basically, they do have the theoretical aspect, but nothing practical. So the developer relations team decided, how about we bring up a program that will try to do one thing. They'll try to do this to bridge the gap between theory and practice for student developers, right? Or you could probably say bridging the gap between theoretical computer science concepts, not theoretical computer science courses, basically concepts, and what is in the industry. So the Developers and Clubs program was started in 2017 in India with this same purpose, to bridge that gap. Students read C plus, were taught C plus plus in school, were taught C, were taught Java, they wrote the code on papers, right, and submit, and they were graded. But then what happens when they come for interviews? They fail. So in 2017, it started in India with this sole aim to bridge this gap. When students learn things in school, they should get the opportunity to practicalize what they're learning. That way, when they come to the industry, they don't get surprised. Most times, you hardly see a school curriculum that teaches students JavaScript. But the very moment you say you want to become a web person and then you come to the industry, you will see JavaScript in every angle of your life. But like, you're not taught in school. So that was the reason why the DSC program started in 2017 in India. In 2018, it came down to SSA, and we're lucky to start with 54 DSCs. It was basically GDGs that were in campuses, they were converted to DSC as a then. And then we moved on to in 2019, 2020, we now extended to 100 DSCs across Africa. And that was when we had the first DSC in Ethiopia, and it was Addis Ababa University. So that was how we had the first. That's how the first DSC came to Ethiopia. This year we ended up selecting 200 DSC leads, and then we have around 6 DSCs in Ethiopia at the moment. So which is like with the same goal, try to see a possibility of bridging the gap between what is taught in school and what the students can learn. You will possibly assume, hey, our school have been able to teach us this, but if you know the industry well enough, or the industry move very, very fast, what is practiced in the industry is literally hard for the school to be able to catch up with. Not because they cannot, but because the industry can, what you probably think is a standard yesterday will possibly be outdated today, right? And changing curriculums is not as easy as um, how it works in the industry, that one person can probably change how best practices work. So that is why the DSC is formed. Basically, as a summary, to bridge the gap between theory and practice. So in an essence, our goal is to create impact, right? An impact to us is by helping equip students and empower them with the necessary resources they can get to be able to impact on their community through technology. So we will provide resources to DSC leads. They try to empower members of their community by organizing workshops, hands-on training, hackathons, and stuff like this, right? Where students who attend the events get to learn the necessary skill, right? They connect with other people and learn and get the necessary skills that they can be able to use to build solutions to local problem in their community. So it's not about building local solutions to Google's problem. It's about building solutions to their own local community. So when you're being trained as in a DSC event, think of how you're going to be able to build projects that will be of impact to members of your community. Whatever you build in as a member of a DSC still remains yours. You own the total IP, all copyright and everything regarding the project you're working on. As you do this, put it at the back of your mind that though we only have 200 DSCs in SSA, we actually have a network of over 1,250 DSCs. I think the exact number could be around 1,259, just one shy of 1,260. DSC campuses across the world, and every single school has one DSC. And the good thing about this is the DSC lead, the DSC program is not just in Africa or in India where it started. We have DSCs in literally every single region. When I mean every region, I mean from Antarctica to New Zealand, from Antarctica to Europe, from as Sub-Saharan Africa to Middle East, right? From North American to Latin American. We have DSCs everywhere. Though the total number is 12250, but you agree with me, it's a very huge number. Yes, we only have six in Ethiopia, and there are more than six universities in Ethiopia, but growth is something we take gradually. At the moment, this is what we have. It's something that started with just 30 campuses, and then today we are at this number over the period of 4 years. So it's something we keep improving, and just know that you're part of a global community, not just a community that is born out of Ethiopia or Sub-Saharan Africa. So as we try to see people create impact, right? We wanted to make it more interesting. So we started a program called the DSC Solutions Challenge, which happens once a year. And the goal is to solve a problem for your community or a real organization. It could be you building the solutions to your school or to your student environment, or building a solution to the whole of your town, right? You possibly notice there is a problem that is happening and you think you can use technology to solve it. So we'll do this every year. We usually announce January 1. We announce the details and everything. And our only requirement, what has been the requirement since the first year in 2019, is that you at least incorporate one Google technology, right? It could be a product or it can be a platform. You can possibly be building for the Android platform, or you're using Firebase as the back end of your project, or just for authentication. It could be you're deploying the whole of your back end or the whole of your project to Google Cloud Platform. That is just the requirement. Or it could be as interesting as building the app using Flutter, right? Any of these makes you qualified. It's just the requirement. Every other thing, the only other requirement is to build the solutions for your local problem. We don't want you to be solving time traveling. We are not trying to say, hey, try. We're not also telling you to solve, to find a vaccine for COVID-19 or try to solve cancer. Build something, no matter how small it is. If it is a solution to a local problem, it's all that we want. And you can start working on it now, right? Yeah, we announced January, submission gets open in March, but then you can start working on it now. We don't have a problem statement. That is the problem statement, basically. Solve a problem in your local community. So, and then the good thing is it started in 2019, like I said. And then in 2019, we only had one winner. And I'm proud, right? I'm proud, and we're lucky to have the first winning solution in the world to come from Africa. And it's actually funny as it is that it's from a neighboring country to you. The first DSC to win the Solutions Challenge came from Uganda. A university in northern Uganda named Muni University built this app, an immunization calculator. It basically tells health workers and mothers what immunization is due for their infant. So you can see this is not the best of apps, right? This is not the best of interface. Basically, you possibly say, I can build something better than this. But yeah, that was what was built, and that was the winning solution. So what we're interested in is not the best UI. It is what solves the most complex of issues, right? No matter how basic it is. That was 2019. And in 2020, we still participated. And then instead of having just one winner, because we realized different people build solutions to different problems, we saying just one solution is okay, doesn't really serve well. So this year we decided to select 10 top winners. And we're lucky to have two of those 10 winners from Africa. One from the University of Education in Kumasi, Ghana, and the other one is from Midland State University in Zimbabwe. The ones from the team from Ghana built an emergency response assistant. Basically, it lets you report emergency to relevant authority by using your location service. Well, the other one is basically a plagiarism checker. It checks for plagiarism when students submit their thesis and capstone projects. So there were 10 winners, like I said, and then we had a demo day. Basically, got them to be able to explain what they did, and we have some teams. Some of my teammates at Google here from different products get to ask them questions, and then we took questions from audience. If you want to watch the demo, this link here sends you to the video um, about it, or you see the whole video of the demo. And our keynote speaker was no one but one of the two people that built the internet, the infrastructure we're using. They basically built solutions to the problem for them as at that time. And so these guys built the same thing, and then we got the pleasure of having him be our keynote speaker. So to learn more about the DSC program, use this link, g.co/dev/DSC, to learn more about the DSC program. So it's my time, and thank you so very much for listening. Organizers, over to you.
Thank you very much, Awal, for taking the time to give such an informative speech. Okay, next we got Abel Fikrihanes, DSC lead of St. Mary University. He'll be introducing us the team. Abel, we got 15 minutes. You can take the stage.
Okay, thank you guys.
Abel, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here. I'm trying to share my screen right now.
Bemrat, you can share the screen for him.
Okay. Sorry guys for the delay. Okay, so my part is introducing the 2020 and 2021 Ethiopian DSC leads and their background. So I'm gonna start from myself. So next slide, please. So I'm Abid Franis, and I am one of the 6 DSC leads for this years. And I'm gonna introduce you to my background and to my overall view on this thing. So next slide, please. So start to interact with TIC pretty much, and so with software development back when I was an 11-year-old by learning HTML, and I spent my break time in computer labs. I started competition when I was in high school with my colleagues, and I had participated in lots of hackathons and code nights after high school too. That I used them more for broadening my network. After I go to college, I had worked as a software developer for a company for a couple of months priorly before Corona. And currently, I'm a DSC lead and Microsoft Beta Learn Student Ambassador. And I'm more interested in product design, algorithms, machine learning, and AI. In the future, I want to work on education and financial technology firms. And I want to join DSC because I love to work with my peers to create new things. And my goal as a DSC is creating a family rather than a community that has big and deep roots that can be brightful for others and include many opportunities. So I'm gonna go to the second DSC. Next slide, please. So the next DSC is Mikias Girma. Uh, Next slide, please. So, Mikias Girma is a software engineering student aiming to be an entrepreneur and educator, and he had been working at GDG Bahadar as an organizer since its launch last year. And he's highly interested in pretty much everything in technology. And right now, but he has spent the last couple of years learning about web technologies. His introduction with technology started at the young age, and he used to go through phones, like check what each thing does and like what affect the phone. And by that time, his parents and people around his community used to bring their phones to his in order to fix it. So then this is the passion. This passion starts to grow and made him curious to know how these operating systems and apps made. And when he was in grade 7, he decided to study software engineering and soaked into the world of the amazing ecosystem ever since that. The reason he had been to be a part of this kinds of communities is because he have a passion to learn with great leaders and influencers and educate the others to overcome their problems through technology, specifically programming. And he believes through DSC. And he said that we can together bring some sort of change in our community. And his goals for this year is solve at least one local problem in his community or in his campus that makes better something by minimum in 1%. So at last he has said like growth is the aggregation of simple fix. 1% growth in all of us can create a huge impact on the road to excellence. And thank you. Let's go to the next DSC. The next DSC is Ruth Kabeda. Next slide, please. Uh, So she finished high school at Dandibor School, and she's now a third-year computer science major at Hilco School of Computer Science. She also is doing her second degree in marketing management at Addis Ababa University. She would say that her main focus is on Flutter and interested in web programming using some different JavaScript technologies. What makes her eager to join the community is that she believes that it can help her grow as a developer by surrounding herself with people having the same interest as her, and she would really love to help others with the technologies that she is familiar with. And her main goals as a DSC for this year is introducing at least two frameworks to the students and help them advance in what they already know. So we're gonna go to the next DSC lead. So the next is Habib Mohammed. Uh, Next slide. So Habib Mohammed is a software engineering major learning in Addis Ababa Institute of Technology, more interested in Flutter app development. And the thing that makes him eager to join this is that he loves to share what he knows and enable himself and others to achieve their ideas into realities. Uh, his main goals as a DSC is launching 3 bootcamps sessions on Flutter web frontend, backend, REST API development, and more on. Uh, that will enable students to build their ideas to reality. Uh, Host monthly hackathons allowing students to solve problems in fast-paced environment. and also successfully involve and solve challenge projects that DSC members take part of. Next slide, please. So uh, the next DSC lead is Bamherat Gazahin. Uh, and next slide, please. He became interested in tech since a young age. So he learned coding in grade 9 and had participated on tech competition representing his school. And since he was very interested in tech, he joined a university, then have participated in few activities since then. To list them, he have worked as a trainer and Arco Club's 81 Can Code project for a while. He have participated in three different hackathons from Gabaya, Microsoft, and GDG Addis. After that, he traveled to India to do an internship on mobile application development. After he came back, he began an internship in Arco Labs on AI related programming and took training while he was there and did different interesting projects while he was there and currently working on to start a business. He is mostly interested in AI and quantum computing, and he would love to advance in these fields. He joined SC because he believed giving back and also learning from community as well. His goal as a DSC for this year is participating in the solution challenge, bridging the gap between postgraduate student and undergraduate student, proving internship opportunities to his community members and peers. Next slide, please. So the last DSC lead is Maramawit Onasu. Uh, Next. So interacting with computer has been her passion since she was a young kid. Ever since her early years at school, she can remember having a huge interest in computers, how they work and their effect in their societies and how everything works in computers. So and also she have been interested in through thoroughly in particular web language and mobile developments. These have stretched her knowledge of computers, and she always strives to expand her knowledge of these topics, further serving the community and growing together with the community makes her eager to join DSC. Her DSC goals throughout the year is to prepare students to be responsible and innovative digital citizens, to engage students in real world problems by collaborating with others in the classroom and across the world, to enable students to take responsibility for their learning, to provide students with the tools to be successful in their future endeavors in higher education and careers, to provide equal access to technology and tools to all students, to provide equal opportunities for all students. At last, technology is best when it brings people together, shall I say. So, next slide, please. So we look forward to create a great family with all of you. We really wanna really create a great community rather than community. We really wanna create real great family with you guys. Next slide, please. So I hope you are gonna really have an awesome experience in this year, and you will not regret this experience. So I hope you're gonna join DSC soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Abel, for introducing us. So next up, we got Nathan Damto, founder of Bibloki. Bibloki is a gamified learning app to teach young kids computer programming in a fun and intuitive way. Welcome, Nathan. We're happy and excited to have you here. You got 25 minutes from now. You can take the stage, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Or should I wear a headphone?
Yes, we can hear. We can hear.
Let me know in the comment. Oh, you can hear me quite clear? So I'm Nathan. I'm Nathan, founder and CEO of Blocky. Uh, as you can see, I'm on my weekend outfit. So yeah, I'm just having my time. I'm just having my time. So uh, how is weekend treating you all? How is COVID weekend treating you all? Normally on weekends, I'm not used to taking meetings or attending this kind of webinars or settings. I'll probably yeah, I'll probably be somewhere else. But yeah, it's quite good to attend some kind of things like this on weekends. Anyways, so I'll just start off with my presentation. I'll take you through my journey and starting uh, before starting about starting a business or startup while still at school, and I hope you guys are all ready. From the organizers have the information. All of you here, most of you here are students and everything. So this presentation is for you guys. All right. So can I share my screen? Window, Chrome. All right, so everybody can see my screen? Organizers.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, everybody else can see the screen. So okay, I would if any of you have any questions, you can tweet your questions tagging at Nate Damto, or you can use the comment section to just put your questions. I'll make sure to address them all as much as possible. Okay. So I'll take you over about Blocky, me and about Blocky, things I knew while I started Blocky, and things I wish I knew. When I started with Blocky. Maybe with those things I wish I knew back then would have changed one or two things. So I'm just gonna share all both two things. Things I knew, probably you'll find the things I knew yourself useful, and of course my contact if you want to reach out for a question, or I don't know if you want to, if you could, or to just call or email me hello email. So this is Blocky. So Blocky is a gamified programming learning app for kids. We're targeting kids from the age of 6 to the age of 13. So the reason to equip young Africans with the fundamentals of computer programming, because as we all know, computer programming is the next what is it? Computer science, or as a computer programming is the next universal language. You thought I was gonna say as the music is the universal language? No, programming is the universal language. So our kids, not that I have a kid, but the kids, the future generation need to have need to know the future language, computer programming. So that's the reason why we start working on Block. So what happened was back when me and my classmates, me and production part and everything, because we had the chance to learn about computer programming back in St. Joseph School. So I went to St. Joseph School in high school. Anyone here from St. Joseph School? Say whoop whoop. I'll give you a shout out on the comments. Alab. One, I can see Alab, St. Joe, another St. Joe. That's fair for the rest of us. Okay. Anyways, I went to St. Joseph School, so I had the chance to learn computer programming while in there, and So when we joined college, me and my programming was easier for us when we joined college, but it wasn't the same for the rest of my classmates, and that actually bothered me for a while. That most of my classmates don't know how to code simple applications. So, but 3 years down the line, the 3 years in college, I realized my cousins were only 10 or 11 by then playing Clash of Clans. Okay, who else knows Clash of Clans? Anyone? I will. I see. I will. So the rest of you don't know Clash of Clans. I only see people. I only see 3 people out of 72. Okay, counting. All right, everybody knows Clash of Clans. So I saw my cousins. I saw my cousins by the time they were 9, 10, 11 by then playing Clash of Clans, and yeah, it's a very complex game. So I thought if these kids can understand a game as complicated as Clash of Clans, they could also understand computer science. So that was my eureka moment, and we can say that's how BeBlocky was born. Yeah, that's how I gave birth to it. Anyways, so yeah, and also I see some of you here writing it's a complex game, and one said it was addicting for me for some year. Come on, that game still confuses me to this day on. I'm not gonna lie to you all. That game still confuses me. So anyways, where BeBlocky was born in 2017. From 2017 going forward, we started BeBlocky working. I started working on BeBlocky late 2017. So just 2018, I started working on BeBlocky. So back then, I was a third year in college, going to fourth year. I learned. I went to Alat Kilo Computer Science Department at Addis Ababa University. So who else is from there? Anyone from there? I'll give you a shout out. Nahnel Musfin, what you are here, I see Surakil can do. Anyone else? So make sure Nahnel Musfin, Surakil can do. Make sure to say hi to the friends. Make sure to say hi to our teachers. I'm a big fan of them. They've taught me a lot and everything. So make sure to say hi for either. Just say hi to them for me. And also, I started BeBlocky alone. Brooke Alama, if I started BeBlocky alone with a team. So I'm a solo founder. But around around early 2018, I started looking for a co-founder, but it didn't go well. So I had to go on solo. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the music Jason Derulo's music, writing solo. So yeah, so that was my anthem back then. So I started working on BeBlocky alone, solo. And yeah, so 2019. So 2019, right after I graduated, a few months after I graduated, I launched the very first official version of BeBlocky, and it would be a lie if I tell you that version was awesome. Yeah, it would have been a lie, but it still was the official version of BeBlocky. I launched it, and yeah, I don't know if we see the things we came through that from that app to what we are now is you'd fall in love. You'd actually LMAO as in, you'd laugh out loud as in LMAO. Anyway, it was a funny version, but still was still my very first app launching and everything. So it has meant a lot for me. It actually meant a lot for me launching the very first app of BeBlocky, because I've worked very hard on it, and everything. But before the release, there was lots of things going on and everything. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people knew about BeBlocky before it's official and everything. In 2020, now we have about more than 12,000 downloads on Google Play, and things are going very smooth. so some of the traction we have now, it may not be, it is updated a bit, but so far, Blocky has been downloaded more than 12,000 times on Google Play around the world. We've raised close to 15,000 in pre-seed seed funding. We've been featured on Disrupt. We've been featured on TechCrunch, and we've also been among the finalists at TechCrunch Disrupt Battlefields. So I'm just, how many of you are familiar with TechCrunch or Disrupt? Yeah, sorry. Okay, let me see. So yeah, I can see lots of you guys. So we've been featured on TechCrunch, and we've been also among the 10 finalists at the Disrupt Battlefields, and also down the line, I've established a programming learning center here in Addis Ababa, and we've enrolled more than 125 kids on year 2019, and we can say we've been doing really good, and we've been trying to improve as much as we can. I think someone is referring to Recharge. Recharge, I think it's from TechCrunch movie, is it? I meant TechCrunch from Silicon Valley, if I'm not wrong. You can ask Grandma, is it? So okay, so I've never seen that movie. I just letting you guys know, I've never seen that series. So but people refer to that movie whenever I speak about the TechCrunch thing and everything. Well, it was a very great experience and everything. I'll tell you about that maybe sometimes soon or later. I don't know where. So what are the things I knew to get me through all these things while when I was at school? So what are these things? So these things are actually well, these things that the one you see on the screen are the things I remember. I remember as while I was working on this presentation. These are the things I remember, but pretty much there are lots of things. But I think these are the most important things I believe you guys should know about. So before that, running the business is I could say running a business while still at school is at minimum a full-time class, as in a full-time class, as in a school, a full-time course. If it's not a full-time job for you guys, so you guys have to put it on your schedules as while studying and everything. You have to put it in your schedules. So I didn't put them in their importance order. I just got a point. I just put them in what do you call? Just randomly put this things on the slide. So work and school, integrating work and school. So the first thing. The first thing you need to do is integrating your work and school. So for example, if you're computer science, so what I did was Blocky is I was a fourth year student. While I was a fourth year, now we had to do a final project. So what I did is I made the final project Blocky. So I don't have to do another things. I don't have to get myself busy doing other things instead of Blocky. So I just put Blocky as my final projects. So I kept working on my app, on the business and everything, while at the same time getting grades, getting A+ and everything on my final project. It was a good time. So every time you guys plan to work on a product and everything, you have to integrate your work and school as much as possible, or else you just get busy. You just get busy while working on both of them. So as much as possible, just try to try to find a common ground for things, I would say. So yeah, uh, that is one thing. Uh, and one thing is about the thing I mentioned earlier. If it's not if it's at minimum, it's your full-time course. It's a full-time course if it's not a full-time job, right? So the only difference between the actual lessons, the actual courses, and your business or your course is your teachers are not professors or are not other people or your teachers. Your teachers are your books, your podcasts, your YouTube channels, blogs, mentors. So you're taking this running how to running a startup. You take this course from the things I've mentioned. So it's basically a course, but your teachers are not actual professors. So you should give it a time. What I meant was that you should give it a time at least. Um, but the other thing is student discount. So how many of you use a GitHub for students? You guys know GitHub? GitHub gives free resources like AWS servers, a lot of things actually. Yeah. So you have okay, I'll answer one question with the. I'll just go. I'm just going as well on the comment. Have you ever done a freelance dev to make money? I'll answer that question. I'll make sure to address that question. So use the freelance. Use a student discount. So whenever you're a student, and if you have a school email or anything, or just make sure you take advantage of this student discounts. GitHub. I remember using GitHub for students to take advantage of. By that time, GitHub didn't have a public feature, as in you're only allowed to have 3 or 2 private accounts and everything. But using my student discounts, I used to have lots of private what do you call it? Private repos, exactly. Private repos. So I took advantage of those things, and many others actually. So make sure you take those student discounts. Other thing is resources, using university resources. So basically, what I mean by using this universities resources, of course, not. I'm not referring to the water or the toilet or anything, but I'm referring to the things. I'm referring to that you're at the lab, the internet. What else? So these are the 2 things you can take for an instance. For an instance, so you can use. I remember using the lab. Our computer at our kilo, we have the fastest Wi-Fi. I remember me and my friends using the lab internet, actually not abusing the lab internet. We were downloading all kinds of tutorials. And okay, I would say movies too. I'm not gonna lie. I would say movies. We've downloaded movies too, but all kind of tutorials and everything. We've been downloading, and we've actually been abusing it. So that was the only resource back then we had. As in we didn't have a printer, 3D printers and everything. But I heard that at Miss Kilo there are 3D printers and everything. So you can use these resources and other school resources to build your prototype and everything, because it wouldn't cost you anything. Yeah. So of course, as in yeah, as much as possible, make sure you use this school university, because you won't be, as a student, you won't be able to afford building a prototype, having something 3D printed outside your I don't know, somewhere, because it's costly. It's actually very costly, and that cost sharing money is not that useful, as an I would blow it in 2 days max. So I didn't have that money, so we'll just use the school resources like printers and everything. Okay, what else? School resources and okay, prepared prepared and professional, showing that I'm prepared and professional. So as a student, again, as a student, uh, I used to take, and you guys take, everybody as a student take funny decisions. I could say funny decisions as in maybe fun comes before anything and everything. So when you're running a business, you have to work with all kinds of people, and those people are mostly older people than us, of course, very professionals and everything. And so when you are approaching these people, you guys need to show that you're prepared and you're very professional. That is mandatory. Uh, Whatever you're going through, whatever whenever you approach this kind of people, you have to be professionals and prepared. Show that you're prepared, okay? Because at the end of the day, these people are the ones who will be able to work with you, to push you, to help you, to introduce you to other people and everything. So you just need to stay prepared and professional all the time. And last but certainly not least, the time management. Okay, so um, yes, I wrote time management on the things I knew sections, but doesn't actually mean I've uh, I've practiced the time management. Uh, I was not good at time management. I don't know. I think I was good, but I was not really good at it. But it's actually very important because you have schoolwork, you have your business, you have your what else? You have your friends. You need to have fun and everything. And as the movies, yeah, come up. Okay, so just other words to what you need to do, why you need to have a good time management. Games, yeah. But by the way, guys, have you guys played Among Us recently? You guys been playing Among Us? Nope. Who? It's a lot of yeah. So okay. I heard about it, but you've never played it. Of course, some people are saying no, and I heard about it. So, anyways, games, movies. So, we'll come back to Among Us later on after this. So, yeah, where was I? Time management. Yeah. So, as student, yeah, it's hard to manage your time and everything. It's pretty much difficult, but it's very important. It's very very important. So. I heard about it, but you've never. Yeah. So assignments, exactly. Assignments. Time management is very important. So there are books that would help you and everything. Try to read those. Try to read blogs about time management. You need to schedule everything and everything. This things I'm telling you right now, I've never practiced it, but back then I tried to manage this and that, but never. I wasn't perfect at it. I could say I was not perfect at it, but it's very important. All right. Okay, so these are the things I knew while starting. Well, that helped me. That helped me to start my business in college. So right after I graduated, right around the time I graduated, like actually the exact month I graduated, I've raised the capital for B Blocky. Actually the very first capital I raised was while still in third year, at the end of third year, to build my prototype and everything else. So these things I have actually helped me to do all these things, to do all raising money, working with people, getting me a PR as a public relations. So I made a headline on Ethiopian Herald newspaper while in fourth year and everything. It was a big deal back then. It's not every day you see a student making a headline on the front page of a newspaper and everything. So these things have actually helped me to do all those things. All right. So now let's proceed to the step. because change not one or two or three things. It would have changed 100 of things if I knew these things back then. Uh, but it's not that I regret the path I went through and everything, but it would help because as a student, we have a lot. Whilst doing all these things that I told you about, while still those with my company and everything, while still doing those things, I used to still have a free time. So we can put these things I'm about to tell you now into our free as a student as a free time, and and to grow our results, to grow our success rate and everything, grow our success rate and everything. So okay, Ruth Casahon. All right, I'll tell you about the seed. This is my second question. The first question was seed round. This, someone asked about something earlier that I said I'll address, but forgot actually to address it. Okay. For a long. Okay, so freelancing. Yeah, freelancing. Thank you. I'll address that then. I'm taking a note right now. So let me go through the things I wish I knew. So these are the main things I wish I knew back when I was at school. So bureaucracy, government bureaucracy. So after third year, I had to establish my business. I had to establish my business as a legal entity and everything. But I was kind of late. I was kind of late, but because I was busy with the school stuffs and with the product and everything, and understanding the government bureaucracy and everything was a headache. That's the actual where the actual headache is. As in the bureaucracy is very hard. So I remember this opportunity just because I was not a legal entity and everything, and the process was too hard for me to go through and everything. So if I had the chance, if I had someone to tell me about to guide me through this bureaucracy and everything, I would have established my business a bit earlier while I was still at school and secure some opportunities like investment and everything. So as much as possible, be familiar what the government bureaucracies, what the new policies are, government policies. Make sure you are aware of these things. Okay, don't ignore these things because these things are very very important. Okay, so government bureaucracy, take note. Other thing is experience. So experience. When I say experience, growing up and also while I was in college, I never had an experience, an opportunity. I could say an opportunity to work with other companies or with other people and everything. I was all I was yeah. I never had an experience working for other people or working in a company, and so this thing is very important because it would discipline you. It would discipline you. So for example, like going to work early, as simple as going to work early. So while I started working on my startup as a company, after I established the company, I don't remember going to work early and everything. Even if I have a team working for me at the office and everything, I never remember going to the office early and everything. One can argue that I can work from home and everything, but that's not actually how it goes because, for example, in our case, in my team case, my team is the most effective while early at the morning, as in we brainstorm early in the morning and everything. It costed us a bit, but I later improved. But if I had an experience working for someone else, I would have gotten some of this discipline, some other discipline, and would have performed well in my company as well. So not just so as going to home, going to work early and everything, but most of the things I mentioned here, all the others 5 things I mentioned here, relate to work experience. So, example for finance and accounting, uh, it relates to experience, but I'm just going to explain it in a separate way. So, finance and accounting, as a student, as a student, uh, okay, I'm told time is up, Nathan. So okay, Maramite, I'm just gonna wrap up in the next 2 minutes, if that's okay, Maramite.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just gonna wrap up in 2 minutes. So finance, you have to get yourself familiar with the finance and everything, and accounting, because you guys need to manage your money, your investments, and everything. Um, business management, project management, and project management. These 2 things come related with the experience. If you have the experience for working with someone else and everything, you guys need to. You probably learned these 2 things very new for me, as it was very new for me, from a technical background to managing business and everything was very hard for me. But I've had practiced this while I was at school. I would have to pay the cost on my own cost. I would pay the price on my own cost. Uh, or if I had the experience working for someone, I would have learned these things while still early in school. Project management is actually just how as growing up, while growing your company, you probably need to manage your project. You have to assign, delegate tasks and everything, and you need to oversee the projects and everything. So you'll need that experience. You need to start. And as a solo founder, I never had this experience, but of course, but this is a very important thing as you grow your team and asking for help. So asking for help. Uh, well, we're as a student, we're curious and everything. We have that energy, we have that time and everything. And whenever we face a problem, I was actually very good in digging stuff deep and solving that problem. But asking for help is very important, because it would save you lots of time. Right? You could just go ask for someone older than you, someone who's been in the business for a while, and give you advice about the bureaucracy, or how to manage finance or business management and everything. Yeah. So make sure you ask for help for anyone. Just ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Now I do it all the time. I'm not afraid to ask for help or anything. Just don't be afraid. And people are happy to help you. All right. So just ask for help, and yeah. So yeah, that was it. That was it for my presentations. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you for Google Student Group for inviting me for this thing. I'm happy to discuss it. And for anyone who have a question, you can reach me at my email at nathandams@gmail. You can go check out our company, my company, bblocky.com. You can follow me on Instagram. Yeah, this photo is from Instagram, so make sure you go on my Instagram and double tap. You can follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. And if you want to read my blogs, I started a few blogs. I started writing blogs a few months ago, and I'm publishing new ones every now and then. So follow my Medium account at nathedowns.medium.com. And if Maramite allows me, I can answer the 2 questions that was raised earlier, or how could I address it on there? So the one is where did you raise the seed capital? I raised the first seed capital from from Reach for Change. Then I raised pre-seed capital from Mission. Then I raised another pre-seed capital from Baabu Network. So Reach for Change and Baobab Network. Check them out. I just wrote them on the other ones. Have you ever done a freelance? Have you ever done a freelance? Oh, okay. No, I haven't done. Yeah, we could say I have. We could say I've done a freelance. Okay, so the Blocky was one of the companies I founded while I was still in campus. Another company I co-founded while still in campus. That's a different story, and that's another topic. So we couldn't say it's a freelance because it turned out to be a business. Now it's a full business it's a digital marketing business. It's called Socially. DM. You can learn more about my other startup. My other business I started while still in college. I co-founded it with two of my classmates. A digital marketing business. And no, I could answer. I could answer. I've never done a freelance while still in college. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Maramite, for giving me the additional time. And I'll be here and comment, or if you have any questions. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Nathan.
Thank
Again.
you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Nathan, for
All
taking the time to share your knowledge and vast experience with the student community. Thank you. So now I'll be leaving the stage for my co-host, Bemrete. Bemrete, you can now take the stage.
Okay, thank you, Maramut. Thank you, Nathan, again for the elevating presentation that you did. As he said, you'll be available on the chat section, so you can ask him your questions. And if any of the questions are very important, at the last minute, we will have a Q&A question, and we can give him time so that he can speak about it. Okay, thank you again, everyone, for staying with us. Okay, I'll be introducing you our next speaker. So her name is Salam Gano. She is an MIT graduate of 2018. Just to tell you a little about her, she has worked from an e-commerce robotics startup in China up to the robotics research at DARPA, the same company that invented the internet and the GPS. So she will tell you more about herself. I'll give the stage to her. Salam, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes. Yeah, so I will start by sharing my screen. Okay. Great. Can you all see my screen? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear you. We can see it.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, yeah, so I just want to start by thanking everyone who spoke already. I'm really honored to be on this panel. I thought, the past two speakers were really great. It was great to hear about DSC's initiatives and especially the solutions competition. I think that's a little bit similar to what I'll be talking about today. And it's always really inspiring to hear about founders in Ethiopia. So I'm really excited about that. So the topic I'm speaking on is women in technology, but as you can see, the title of this presentation, you can all see the presentation? Is it clear?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. So the title of this presentation is Designing Ethiopia's Future. And the reason for that, I think, is that we should really think about diversity in technology or women in technology as issues that concern everyone and issues that concern our future. So I wanted to try to present this in a way that was relatable to all of you so that everybody, no matter what your gender is or what your background is, you get something out of this and you understand why diversity and especially gender diversity is important in technology. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about myself. So I graduated from MIT in 2018. I got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering with robotics. As you can tell from my American accent, I grew up in the United States. I grew up in Denver. Now I live in Boston. And my cultural background is also diverse. So my father's side of the family is from Kaffa. I've been there many times. I've really lived out in the rural areas, actually, which actually some kids from Addis even have not done that, you know. Not everybody knows how to milk cows or ride horses, and I can say that I've done that. And then my mother's side of the family is from Shanghai, China. So I think about how we can include people and look at different perspectives a lot simply because of who I am as well. And I currently work as a robotics engineer. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. And then just some fun facts, I also play the piano and I like to write. I do a lot of writing. When I was at MIT, I was actually paid to blog for MIT admissions. So yeah, and then I'll just go to my portfolio page really quick. If you want, you can check this out. I'll put the link in the chat later. It has some of the projects I worked on in college and beyond. So yeah, so this is the kind of stuff that I do. So this was an undergraduate research project that I did at the MIT Media Lab where we built a digital construction platform. So that's basically a fancy way of saying we were trying to build a robot for construction. So a robot that could 3D print houses. And this is halfway through printing a big dome made out of insulation styrofoam. And it was, for that year, the largest 3D printed object ever, as far as we knew. We didn't get anybody to certify this, but the PhD student had done a lot of research into this technology. So I've always been interested in robotics, and I really made that a focus of my bachelor's degree. This is an example of the system that I worked on at XYZ Robotics, which is an e-commerce startup that is global. They have offices in Boston and in Shanghai, China. I was able to leverage some of my background and my language skills there. I actually lived in Shanghai for 3 months working there, getting to know the work culture there and deploying the system. Specifically in this picture, I worked on this shelving system here. So it's a smart shelf that can tell you basically if the object actually made it in or not, because when the robot is placing, it can't tell necessarily if the object it placed successfully, you know, made it into the correct compartment. And so we made the shelf kind of like a smart shelf, and I worked a lot on that, and they still use it today, even though I have not worked there. And then what I work on right now today is a chemical sensor. So I work with a lot of physics PhDs and optical people, and they developed this sensor that can detect hazardous materials. So basically, if you're going into an environment that's somewhat dangerous, or you need to like clean an accident area, you might not know what kinds of chemicals are around. Some of them might be fine and you can just clean it up with water. Some of them might be dangerous or explosive, and water will actually cause them to explode, or other ways that you might attempt to clean them. So this device, you can point it at any material and it will tell you what it is. So you can point it at some white powder and it will tell you if it's salt or sugar, or if it's more dangerous than like cocaine or an explosive substance. So it's used a lot in safety and security. And the way that robotics comes in here, you can see there's like a person doing the demonstration of scanning. Obviously, it's even safer. This is a dangerous environment, right? You can see he's all suited up. So it would be even better if we can have the robot use the sensor instead of a person. So that's what I'm working on now. So what I want to talk about during this presentation is like, what does Ethiopia's future look like to you? Because you're all interested in technology. People who are interested in technology are interested in designing the future, right? Like, we don't study technology to make something that already exists. I mean, maybe we improve something that already exists, but that's still, you know, making it better for the future, even if it's 1% better, as was mentioned before. And so I want you to kind of just keep that in mind as I talk through this. And I'm going to give you an example of a technology project in Ethiopia. And I think this is relevant to you because I did this project as a student. I hope it can show you how you can put your own skills to work even as a student. how you can find problems in your community and work to solve them, and then maybe pitch them to the DSC solutions competition, and how you can find resources and ask for help. And kind of embedded in that, we'll talk about how to design for a diverse population, why we need diversity in engineering and problem solving. And at the end, maybe we can think about what Ethiopia needs and how to design things for Ethiopia specifically. And then also, I want you to keep in mind that, regardless of what anyone else says about your education or your experience or whatever it is, there's a lot of big, fancy, smart people that come into our country, right, and try to tell us how to do things, or it would be better if we did this, and we can't give you back your historical artifacts because we'll take better care of them or whatever. But you are the expert of your own community. Nobody can tell you, this is the way the world is, or this will work better than that, when they're not from where you are from. And so you are the expert of that, and you should always, I think, be proud of that and hold on to it and use that to stand up to people when you feel like whatever solution they're proposing is not going to work with the people that you know and the place you know and the place you live. So the example of this that I'll give is the Muti water project. So like I said, I'm from Kaffa, which is a very rural area, and Muti is a town in Kaffa. It's actually pretty big. It's more than a village. It's where they have like a middle school there. So a lot of people go to school there. People go there for like the market, right? Like to buy things, because outside of Muti or past Muti are a lot of like small villages, and you have to walk or take a horse to get there. There's no road even now. So Muti is very important because it serves its own population, which is maybe 15,000 Ethiopians. And then it also kind of serves these other people living around outside of it, right? Because this is a rural area. And so this is like the closest place you can go to buy a Coca-Cola or to buy other important things. And so it's like kind of a key town in the rural area. And so the problem here is actually something that my whole family has worked on. So even when I was a kid, my dad was also trying to solve this problem. And he moved to the United States when he was in college, and he's now a software engineer. So he and other people in the United States who are from Kaffa were trying to help with this problem of water in Muti, because water in Kaffa is not always reliable. It's a very rainy place. It's not like the northern region, which, the rain itself sometimes doesn't come. So there's water around, but it's not clean. People regularly get typhoid, even in the rainy season, actually. So the time when there's more water, the water actually tends to get dirtier because it kind of floods and it goes into the soil and picks up things. And so Muti uses something called a spring protection for water. This is an example of a spring protection in the picture here. And that's surface water covered in concrete. They're not very reliable. They fail frequently. A lot of the times when people are building this, they don't have the equipment to like scan underneath the ground and figure out, what's there and all of that. And it's mainly because they're just covering like the top of the surface to protect it from contaminants. And so, we need a better water source for Muti. Before I went to college, when I was a kid, as I mentioned, my father and other Ethiopians in the United States were fundraising to build more spring protections for Muti. But there was a problem with the technology itself, the spring protection, right? Because even though we can fundraise and we can get money from here and send it there and build something, it doesn't work very well. And so when I was at MIT in college, I decided to dedicate a lot of my time to trying to fix this problem and see if we can find a better water source for Muti. So then at least, in the future when we're fundraising and all of that, we can build a better water source. So I started by determining some requirements. So again, like I said, this is a project I did as a student. These are some steps you can do when you think about problems. When you think about problems in your community, maybe you can think about determining requirements first, right? Like what's gonna work? Some big $1 million water project is not going to work long-term. Even if I can build, one thing that's this big expensive project, we need something that we can keep doing over time to realistically, help the community. So I said, okay, it probably needs to cost less than or around 6,000 USD. It needs to last longer than 3 years because the spring protections were failing, right? Before then, they would last for maybe 1 year. The Wareda built one that lasted like 3 months. So we need something that lasts longer than 3 years to be kind of worth it. And then it must be locally built and maintained. So we don't want to ship parts from the US or something like that. We need stuff that can be obtained in Ethiopia. And it must reliably produce clean water, of course. That's the whole point. So after you've determined some requirements, you can go and talk to experts and use your fundamental knowledge. So what I did is I went to a professor here who specializes in hydrology, or the study of water. And so he gave me this really helpful chart to understand what's happening underneath the soil. You know, we're walking around all the time, but we don't know that underneath the soil, this is the kind of the different ways that water might kind of appear. So, you know, depending on where you dig, on the top, you don't see all of this, right? But you could end up doing something like this water table here, which is going to run out really fast. Or maybe you get a little bit deeper, and then, you know, maybe you go even deeper. Obviously, when you have fancy equipment and stuff, you can usually figure this out by like doing some scanning of the ground or digging at different points. And but we didn't have much of that. So I found a way to kind of do it with lower cost. And also Kaffa is a rainy place, so it's unlikely that we'll have something like this. Like most of the time, there's water underneath the ground. And we thought tapping into that water underneath the ground will make it last longer than this, which is above the ground and not underneath. I hope that's clear. It's a little bit technical, but yeah, so our solution, right, was a hand dug well built with concrete rings. So that looks like this. So it's you go into the ground and then you can tap into the water in the ground, which is, you know, deeper and more available than the water above the ground. Because the problem with the original spring protection is everybody now goes to this protection, right? Because this is the clean water. So now everybody wants this water. So before, if they were going to the river or whatever, they change and come here. And then quickly it basically becomes dry, right? But for the hand dug well, because it's deeper into the ground, and not much because Kaffa is rainy, then that will last longer. The way that it's clean is you have all of these concrete rings protecting it, right? And if you go deep enough below the ground, there's no oxygen. And if there's no oxygen, there's no bacteria, right? Because the bacteria also need oxygen to live. So typhoid bacteria and things like that cannot survive deep underground when there's no oxygen. So it looks basically like this, where you have, you know, the lining and then like the pump on top and all of that. So this is the part, I think, where we can talk about inclusivity. So it's really important that we talk to real people, right? Like we need to do research in the community, which is what I did. So I actually went and talked to people and asked them where they got their drinking water from. Sometimes they laughed at me and wondered why I was asking these questions. So I just asked them a few questions to try and understand the community better. And I think one here is like, you can see that a lot of children are the one in the rural areas who are going to fetch the water. So that's important because, you know, we want to think about safety too. Like if it's just an open well, there have been times when people have been injured or died because of trying to bring like heavy water out of an open well. And here I think is where we want to talk about who we're including. Like this one with the children in particular, you know, we can see that children are kind of important when we think about the design, right? And so once you've determined requirements, once you've, you know, kind of picked a solution or started to design your solution, you want to be talking to real people and you want to make sure you include who you talk to. When I was talking to people about water, they were mostly women, right? Because women were the people who were responsible for that kind of thing in their households. And we see a lot of, you know, really educated, powerful people making a mistake where they don't talk to women and they don't include women or other people in their design process. And so here's, I think, a part that's kind of serious. Women are roughly half the population, and yet they're 50% more likely to be seriously injured or die in car accidents. I am 50% more likely to die in a car accident because crash test dummies are modeled on male bodies. Still to this day, 100% almost of, well, okay, maybe 90%. I think there's one that's not, of the crash test dummies that they use to test car safety are, you know, basically based on a man. And then 300% more likely to die of a heart attack because women have different heart attack symptoms than men, and doctors aren't trained to recognize them. So regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, if we don't think about half the population, then we're going to end up with really serious problems like this. And also for you, right, you want to make good products. You want to make good companies. If anybody told me that their product did not work 50% of the time or on half the population, I would say that's a bad product, right? Like it doesn't work. And so when we're designing the future, we want to think about who we're talking to and who we're, speaking with when we try and understand who we're designing for. And so I just, that's a really important thing to note. And so, as you're doing that, talk to real people and talk to real women. So, as I said, we were trying to use whatever we have because we didn't have fancy equipment. So this is actually Google Maps, which is applicable because this is Google DSC. And so this is like an altitude map. So this tells you like the heights of different things, and using that you can kind of estimate, if you're somewhere that's really high ground, you might not get deep to where the water is. So we tried to put our spring somewhere that's like lower ground. So you see here, that's kind of like on the underside of a hill. And this is kind of where we had planned for the well. And then I executed. So the left here is a pump that my cousin Gideon, I think he's watching this maybe, he helped me find this. It's called the Aphrodite pump. We bought it in Addis, so it's local. And then this is the site for the well that we were first looking at. And then, we actually were able to build this, which was great. And so as you can see here, there's the pump on top and the concrete platform, and then underneath is all the technology, so to speak. So, we fulfilled all the requirements. It was, I think, a little bit less than 6,000 USD. It has been 3 years, actually. So, and to my knowledge, it is still working. Occasionally the pump will break or something, but because it's local, we can just replace the pump. It's expected that over time the pump might break and then you just replace it, and it reliably produces clean water. So this is a solution that we can use going forward when we think about designing for Kaffa and for Muti and for rural Ethiopia. And so here are just some resources in Ethiopia. I'm sure you are all familiar with this, actually. I was just trying to think of different things I could come up with, because I do want to take a minute to acknowledge here that I had a lot of privilege in doing this project. I mean, I did go to a school that prioritizes learning through practice. There were grants I applied for from the school. This 6,000 USD essentially came from the school. And so I know it's harder to find resources like that in Addis, but I think, the other great thing about DSC is you are all people and you can all advocate for more of that. So you as a group, hopefully with all the different DSC clubs across Ethiopia can, communicate to people in government or universities that, we need funding for projects like this. And I actually talked to some of these people at X-Hub and Drop of Water to try and just learn a little bit more when I was doing this project. And so this is like a recap of what I was talking about, and the big one obviously is make sure you're talking to the people in your community. And then, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day before this this presentation, and he was telling me, there's an epidemic in Ethiopia. I thought he was going to talk about coronavirus. He said there's 30 different ride-sharing apps, and that's the epidemic that he was worried about. And so sometimes, like I know recently, I don't know if you guys have followed this news, but like Paystack was acquired by Stripe. Paystack is a Nigerian company. And so sometimes there are times when people kind of take a model that worked in the West or in the United States, apply it to their nation, their African nation or their other nation, and it works out. But I think, I want to encourage you to think outside the box. Like the problem that I was looking at was a rural problem. It was something very close to my community. You don't have to think about stuff that you read online or things that kind of like seem fancy from a distance. Like you can just think about the problems that people close to you face. And I think, Nathan's company is a great example of that, where it was an issue that he saw his own classmates facing, right? And so when you think about what Ethiopia needs, it can either to be something that brings value to the rest of the world, like we export coffee, right? We export leather, we can export other services, we can even export engineers, right? We can make Ethiopia an outsourcing destination. I'm very interested in that. And also, when we think of the rest of the world, it doesn't have to be the West or Europe or the United States. It can be Rwanda, it can be, Kenya, Uganda. We can build relationships with other African nations too, which I'm also very interested in. And, Ethiopia also needs to build a brighter future for Ethiopians, which is local, right? So we can, again, think about things our community needs, and how we can design for that. And so here's just an example of like a bunch of different stuff. We need everything. But I think, some of the things I wanted to highlight are a little bit different. So here, this is just an image of some textiles. If you're aware, Ethiopia's textile industry is growing really fast. There's a lot of opportunity there. And this one, Ethio Chicken. So both Ethio Chicken and the textiles, there are people here that are coming from outside that are trying to take advantage of this. And so I think that's important to remember, because I actually met the guy who started this chicken company, and he's like this white guy from Minnesota. And I was shocked. I was like, this white guy from Minnesota is starting this chicken company that sells chickens to farmers in Ethiopia and Rwanda and Burundi. And he's just like, some guy. I was like, oh, we need Ethiopians doing this too. He's great, and he works with a lot of Ethiopians as well. But it just made me think, like, there's a lot of opportunity here in places that I think people miss because they don't seem, fancy or like very tech-like. They're not Uber for X. But agriculture is a huge place where we need technology and we need innovative solutions. Textiles also. And I included TurboVote. This is an American initiative. It's not Ethiopian. But I think civic technology is also something that's very interesting, and that we can use. I mean, we know there's a lot of civil unrest across the African continent right now. I know, political stuff can be kind of scary, but it can even be things like this. In this case, this was just a initiative to encourage Americans to vote. So a lot of Americans actually don't vote, which is bad. And so this just helps people, it helps make the process easier for people and educate them. And so I think if we have civic technology in Ethiopia where people can, engage a little bit more in civic life from the day to day, I think that's something that people would receive well. And so I'll just wrap up again with this slide. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not the expert or not an expert, because regardless of what your background is or where you're from, we all have something to bring to the table based on, where we grew up and where we live. We know those people in those places the best out of everyone. And in the case of Kaffa, and Muti, it was a place that was very close to my heart. Like, my father went there for middle school. I have been to Kaffa many times. I actually speak Kafenya or Kafanono better than Amharic, which is, I want to work on my Amharic, but I'm just saying this to say, like, your community needs you, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for all of you bright students to bring something there. So yeah, and so thank you so much. These are some of the kids that are in charge of fetching water, and they're my cousins as well. I don't know if you can see the resemblance, and I'll just leave some links, especially about gender diversity, that I think are both interesting and important. And at the end, here's my contact info. So yeah, and I can, if I have time, I don't know if I have time, but I can maybe take a question or two. Let me look at the chat here. Chat.
Okay, if anyone has a question, you can ask her now.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So someone asked if studying abroad changed me. So I'll clear. I didn't actually study abroad. I just worked abroad. So I worked for a company in Asia. Yeah, that's another thing I didn't get a chance to really talk about today. But I think, again, people are always thinking like West, West, West. But I think there's a lot of interesting relationships we can make in, the Asian continent, the African continent. Yeah, I know, again, there's also like political stuff going on with China specifically. But it was interesting to be there, and there's actually a lot of Ethiopian international students in Shanghai that I met, and so that was cool. Yeah, and then someone asked, what am I working on right now? So I'm working on the chemical sensor that I mentioned. I'll link the website. 1 second. It's a small like startup. Yeah, and it's for sort of like safety and security. And one thing that I think is interesting to note about that is my current company and a lot of the places I've worked at actually receive a lot of funding from the government as well. And so I know that there was a discussion about like VC funding and things like that. I think hopefully DSC, I thought it was great how people were talking about it as a family, even more intense than a community. And hopefully you guys can advocate for things like that too. I think university funding and government funding is a huge reason that the United States has developed a lot of innovative technology. And like I mentioned earlier, I did do some government research work with DARPA. DARPA is actually a US agency, so it's a government entity for defense research. So it's not a private company. And there's a lot of government funding poured into that. And so it was actually the US government that invented internet and GPS. And so it's funny because now things like Uber, right, use a lot of stuff like that. And even the fancy companies you hear about, like Tesla received a lot of funding from the government, from the Department of Energy. So I know that's something that's not really within your control, but maybe it's a conversation you can kind of drive in Ethiopia as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Salam. That was a very moving presentation. I hope we all got something out of it. And moving forward, we will use all the advices that was provided to us by her. Thank you again very much for taking the time out of your schedule to be here. So if any of you have any questions, you can ask her on the chat box, and also she will, I hope she will be posting her addresses on the chat box so that you can all reach out through it. Okay. How was the session so far? Let me hear at least 1 or 2 comments, and we'll move on to our next session. So type something. Okay, yeah, so thank you everyone again. Okay, our next speaker is Salamon Mulugita Kasa. You all know him from Tech Talk with Salamon. So if he has joined the meeting, I will give the platform for him.
Can you guys see me or hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can you see my video?
Not yet.
Okay. I don't know why. I turned it on. Can you see? I don't know what. I can't even see myself there.
Yeah, there is something covering it, I think.
It should be covering it.
I think it's easy. Come on.
But we can
you can figure it out. The camera. Okay, video. Let me see. 1 second. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Can you see me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can see you now.
They're natural.
Good.
Okay. ይሄ ነገር በእንግሊዝኛ ነው በአማርኛ ነው መቀላቀል ይቻላል እንዴት ነው?
So there might be some internationals watching. We have invited some internationals, so it's better to go with English, but you can use whatever is comfortable for you.
Okay, I don't know. I'll mix it up and we'll make it a very fun one, actually.
All right.
Okay.
Hope you are having a good evening there. And you guys are gonna talk. No, it came from actually the studio to record my next show. So that's why I was running late. Story, but I was able to catch up here for what Salam was saying. So thank you, Salam, for your amazing presentation. I was able to catch up in 20 minutes. So thank you. I know I was given to talk about the gap between the West and East in terms of tech and all of that, but I might be the rebellious one here. I might just change the topic here, even though I'm gonna say a little bit about that. But I really want to talk about with you today how we are internalizing this whole tech startup ecosystem, and not only talk about the West, but how can we benchmark our situation, Ethiopia's situation, with other thriving African nations, right? I mean, some of the things that when Salam was mentioning about Nigerian story and stuff, I was really happy about that. So yeah, so in a way, we'll be talking about some of what's going on in the West and kind of internalize it, contextualize it. But I really want to talk about Africa and us. So I think that would be the thing that can move the needle and then that can move the agenda a little bit, because I think comparing East and West just in its literal form, I think might be just comparing apples and oranges at this point. And I don't see that much value, I think, based on my experience. So I think I'm going to just talk about, what's going on in Africa, what's the promising thing ahead, how can we leverage technology to solve our own problems, and how can we be on the driver's seat instead of just always looking out. So, and then with that, I think tech is rapidly moving in Africa. Everything's are becoming more knowledge-based economic structure and information-based society and economy and then social cultural kind of situation is happening. And as you know, the government of Ethiopia is also kind of taking it serious. So I'm sure you guys are all in tech space, so I'm sure you follow policies closely. If you're not following policies closely and then only focus on code, I would challenge you today to follow what's going on within the public sector, because it's extremely important for you guys, what you guys want to do, especially for those who aspire to become entrepreneurs and the startups and having your own companies. That only just developing your code is not going to solve you much. So you have to be very close to the policy making and what is going on in that entire ecosystem, right? So now the digital transformation strategy is in effect. I was actually fortunate enough to support the draft version and give my recommendation. The next one coming up is Startup Proclamation Act. That's in partnership with Mint and JCC. So that's the next thing to kind of create a formidable environment for tech startups, digital economy and digital startups. So that is coming up. And as you guys know, the greatest news for me is the upcoming privatization of telecom, right? The bid is going to come out very soon. And then in 6-7 months, you guys can expect 2 more mobile operators or telecom operators in Ethiopia. That means more competition, low bandwidth, fee, and then more speech and all that. So once that happens, I think it's going to just open a whole floodgate for opportunities for you guys to create and co-create and bring a lot of solutions. So this whole thing is extremely interlinked. For one to say that there is a success in digital, inclusion and digital economy and tech transformation, this whole thing has to come to play. It's just not only the private sector or public sector or foreign aids or foreign partners, everything has to come together, right? So with that, Africa is really moving forward because we've been the sleeping giants now we're just waking up, right? So as this situation unfolds, local tech startups are facing big challenges. It's as much as exciting this is, it's also a threat. It's also a huge competition gap, right? Especially you can talk about telecom, you can talk about the e-commerce space, you can talk about media and all of that. I can just give you a very lame and simple and stupid example, right? So WhatsApp, I use WhatsApp, I love WhatsApp and any other VoIP apps, as they are making text and calls and videos and many other collaborations free for nothing. We use it for free. Of course, we have to pay for the bandwidth, but telecom, local telecom giants can bleed cash. I mean, that's just kind of obvious. So I'm not saying we don't have to use it, but we have to create that ecosystem to kind of offset that, right? So the other one, as Instagram kind of provides an amazing gallery of your products, good stories, and everything else, local newspapers will struggle, right? So this is just the side effect of any tech. But think about it when it happens in Africa, right? Especially with a huge, gigantic, giant monopolies, right? When Facebook is making it possible for merchants to reach millions of potential customers at no cost, right? You can actually, you guys heard the news about 10 days ago that the Facebook marketplace is now active in Ethiopia, right? They released the announcement. They've been active in other parts of Africa. And now in Ethiopia, they also have that platform. So which means that, you know, marketers and sellers and buyers can communicate through that for zero cost. And think about that for a second, that the traditional e-commerce platform, commission-based, you know, small businesses, how they can simply suffer from that. So what I'm saying is that it's coming, we can't avoid it, but what can we do about it? So that is where you need to focus as developers and as technologists, innovators. And of course, you know, through all this mix of, you know, push and pulls and different synergies, you know, Africa has promising startups, so does Ethiopia. So, but it seems like those who are, you know, in extreme niche areas, I'll explain what I mean by that. Like, you know, ag tech, right? For example, you can take some examples from Ghana, from Nigeria, and South Africa, and Rwanda, and Kenya. So the startups, people, developers like you, technologists, are helping the last mile off-grid community part of the society by implementing tech, right? Niche kind of tech, like precision farming, be it drone-based or be it satellite imagery or sensing satellites and all that. By doing that, combining that, and then connecting it with off-grid kind of based systems like text-based apps to give information for farmers, fertilization, or weather index-based insurance, or just you name it, right? So that is niche. You know, the big global monopolies are not getting into that yet, because it is, some of it is offline, some of it is like really not highly attached to the internet yet. We're using different other techniques, again, while being, innovative. So we have to be extremely niche. The other perfect example about niche and the West cannot even come to compete is the financial inclusion model that Kenya was able to do, right? The M-Pesa is the perfect example with all its own setbacks and weaknesses and downsides, but the success story still stands out. So what do I mean by that? So the kind of thing they were able to pull, right? With using just dummy phones, with no need for the internet when it started, and reaching out to all the way to the last mile farmer with there is no connectivity, that kind of stuff is going to thrive, because the M-Pesa model is now a model that's being used in part of India, Afghanistan, in part of Latin America, and other places. So we have to find our niche. I think Salam was also mentioning that in her closing remarks, saying that, don't get only excited about what's coming, what's imported, but also, create your own problem-solving skill by looking around and bringing about your own solution. So I think that's really, really important. I really, really want to challenge you with that as I saying this. So apart from those areas, everyone is competing. Global giants in these other parts, the Googles and the Facebooks and the Amazons and many others are just hugely influential. And think about that, like small startups and entrepreneurs trying to compete with them by providing similar solutions. So that's something that I really have to think, especially for those after school who are aspiring to become entrepreneurs. So why? I mean, why is the competition really hard? I mean, this is also kind of talking about the gap. I mean, based on the title that you gave me, but I'm kind of pivoting a little bit and then kind of, exiting a little bit. But I think it's for your own good. So, why is this competition so hard to do? Think about those big companies, right? The companies aggregate an amazing and tremendous amount of data over the course of the years. So they've been around since the dot-com boom, the Googles and Facebook 2005, and you name it. Most of them in Amazon 1996, and the amount of money in terms of data is the new oil, as you know, right? I mentioned that in my book. That by itself is just can knock us out from the competition. So at this point, they're near in zero marginal costs. They can acquire customers so easy. Any parts of the world where internet is out there in the main player, right? So we are, they're ahead in the game and with enormous number of users and very mature solutions and algorithms and, all that. It's really hard to compete with them. So the challenge is tremendous. And so that makes this competitiveness, for small local entrepreneurs and startups makes it nearly impossible. So what can we do? What is the solution? I think I can recommend just few here. So again, one of the things I kind of touched upon on that, saying that create your own niche sector. Niche ማለት ለዛ ገበያ የሚሆን ሌሎች ትልልቅ ኩባንያዎች ያላዩትን ሎቴክ በሚወስድ ኢንተርኔት ላይ ኦልሞስት 100% ዲፔንደንት ያልሆነ ኦፍ ኮርስ ኢንተርኔትን ሌቨሬጅ የሚያደርግ ኤምፔሳ ኤግዛምፕል ነግሬያቸዋለሁ and many others. For example, even from the population, from the demographics perspective, think about it. Ethiopia has 150 million people. That's what has been said, right? And a good 80% of it is living in rural areas. So if we are just having a market share of 20 million startup BJs and it's not going to scale down the road. Of course, it's going to make you a lot of money, right? I mean, but it's not going to be scaling, and also it's not going to become inclusive. So think about all those off-grid populations and think about what kind of low-tech innovation I can do and try to reach out to those last miles in an off-grid part of the society by using innovation and technology, right? So of course, internet at the end of the day is extremely important, but start from a niche area. And Pesa did not worry about technology when they were creating that solution, for example. So, yep. So that kind of stuff is one of the things. So creating niche that can really solve your own issue, your own problem, is just one way to kind of combat the battle of that heavy competition. The other one I can say is also collaborate. I think what you guys do as Google Developers Group is what you guys do is collaboration with Google and leveraging the open source and the existing infrastructure to create your own solution. That's a fantastic thing to do. Continue this kind of collaboration and leverage that open source to solve your local problems. I think, for example, I think Kenya, I think some developers are using Google's open source translator platform to create a Google Swahili, so fully localized language translation system. So that can solve a lot of local problems, and you can monetize, you can create a business case for that, and you can continue. That's just one simple example, but yeah, while leveraging these big platforms, big companies, leverage the open source, but create your own thing off of that existing infrastructure. I think that can be one way to survive. The other one is that, you guys are students, soon you're going to be graduating, and some of graduates already on the call. I would imagine some startups, some entrepreneurs. Not every single developer, not every single engineer has to be a startup owner or an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to aspire, and some people are, have a calling to do that, and they become successful. But it doesn't mean that everybody has to go that route. So some of you might become just an amazing developers working for big companies, or you might become a tech leaders and architects and designers and whatnot. So one way to kind of take advantage of your talent is talent outsourcing. I think Salam also kind of mentioned that. Yeah, that's one way to do that. And BPO should be the next big thing for Ethiopia, business process outsourcing. We can leverage that, and with the right infrastructure and internet and then a good skill set training, to be a competitor in the global stage doesn't mean that you only have to be good in coding. So the business acumen, the professionalism, the mindset change, and all that can position this youthful country. Ethiopia literally 19 ዓመት ሚዲያን ኤጅ የሆነበት ሀገር ነው። ስለዚህ ከኮሌጅ ተመርቆ የሚወጣው ሰው ብዛት እጅግ በጣም ብዙ ነው። ስለዚህ ኳሊቲውን እያስተካከልን ሪሊ ታለንታችንን ኤክስፖርት ማድረግ የምንችልበት ልክ እንደ ኤክስፖርት that's going to be an amazing and big foreign investment inflow ማድረግ የምንችልበት ነው። ስለዚህ this is another mechanism to leverage and harness the digital opportunity and the talent pool that we have, great people like you. So I think one example is Andela, Nigeria based company, so kind of outsourcing top talents for big companies like Facebooks and Googles and Microsofts, while the kids are in Lagos in their room or in the co-working space, whatever the case might be. So that's one way to do that. And also I heard that there's an example in Ethiopia, Gabeya is a talent marketplace trying to do the same thing. So also ያንንም አብሮ leverage ማድረጉ የእናንተን አይነቱን ታለንት ስንትና ስንት ሚሊዮን ሰው ተመረቀ ሁሉም ሰው የራሱን ስራ የራሱን ስታርታፕ አይከፍትም። ስለዚህ በዛ ያንንም አቅጣጫ ሲሪየስሊ ማየትና ያንን ሞዴል ምቹ ማድረግ ያንን ጋፕ እንዲያጠባውና የዚህ የዓለም አቀፍ ያለው የቴክ ፕሌይግራውንድ ላይ ተጫዋቾች እንድንሆን ያደርገናል ብዬ አስባለሁ። But over time, the best way to fix this chronic issue in Africa, to fix this digital gap, is of course quality education and training and infrastructure. It's something that we can do as individuals. That's a public infrastructure. So a lot of government involvement. I think እሱ እንቅስቃሴ ያለ ሰው የሚያስደስት ነገር ነው። And ያንን በማድረግ ነው አፍሪካ የራሷን ታሪክ መስራት የሚችለው። ነገር ግን በአሁኑ ሰዓት ላይ ሪሊ ኢሚዲየትሊ ማድረግ የምንችላቸው ነገሮች አሉ። ሪሊ ሌትስ ፕሮሞት ኮላቦሬሽን ራይት። አሁን እዚህ ጋር የምታደርጉት ነገር ኢትስ አ ፐርፌክት ኤግዛምፕል ኦፍ collaboration. I think this one single hero mentality መጥፋት አለበት። I think በተለይ ለአፍሪካ አይነቱ አይሆንም የምለው ያ ሲንግል ሂሮ አይገኝም ማለት አይደለም። ነገር ግን ሃይ ስኬል ነገር ማድረግ የምንችለው ኮላቦሬቲቭ በሆነ ማይንድ ሴት ነው። ኦፍኮርስ አስፓየር የምናደርጋቸው አሉ ሲንግል ሂሮስ ራይት። እኔም ሂሮዎች አሉ ኤላን መስክ እንደ ገሌ እንላለን። yes and then we will have our own Elon Musk from Africa and whatnot, but I think collectively ግን ማሰብ ያለብን collaborative የሆነ ማይንድ ሴት ይዘን all digital economy players አካተን ግሩፕ ሜንታሊቲ እና ቲም ሜንታሊቲ ማይንድሴት መያዝ አለብን ጥሩ ኢምፓክት እንድናመጣ እንጂ just waiting for that single hero is gonna waste our time, but it's gonna come out. We're gonna embrace when that hero comes, but really right now our gem, our gold, our resource is our collective mind. So ያንን ሁልጊዜ እንድታስቡ ጠይቃቸዋለሁ። አብሮነት፣ አብሮ መስራት፣ አብሮ ኮላቦሬት ማድረግ። ሌላው ሪኢማጂን ማድረግ ያለብን ዲጂታል ስኪል ትሬኒንጉን ነው። ሪሊ አልጎሪዝም ወጥቶ ተምሮ ቤዚክ የሆነ ነገር ተምሮ መውጣት ብቻ በራሱን ማያደርግም። ስለዚህ ኮንቲኒየስ ፕራክቲስ ያስፈልጋል። ኮንቲኒየስ ኦፕን ሶርሶችን የተጠቀማችሁ ፕራክቲስ ማድረግ ይጠበቅባቸዋል። ሆል ዲጂታል ስኪል የሚለው ነገር ሪኢማጂን መደረግ አለበት። yes you can be that one nerd who can do the thing just by crunching codes, but also that's not the only thing that's needed. የቢዝነስ ስኪል ሴት ያላቸው የዲጂታል ፕሮፌሽናሎች ያስፈልጋል። ሶ ዲጂታል ስኪል ሴት ስንል ፕሮግራመር፣ የሲስተምስ አርኪቴክት፣ ዳታቤዝ ኢንጂኒየር፣ ዋይት ሃት ሃከር፣ ሳይንቲስቶች፣ አርቲፊሻል ኢንቴሊጀንስ ሳይንቲስት ብቻ ማለታችን አይደለም። ሪሊ በሶፍት ስኪሉ ላይም ከፍተኛ የሆነ የቢዝነስ አንደርስታንዲንጉ ያንን ዲጂታል የሆነ ነገር ወይም ቴክኒካል የሆነ ነገር ለቢዝነስ ኬዝ ተጠቅመን ግራውንድ ላይ ያለውን ችግር እንዴት እንፈታበታለን። at the end of the day fancy የሆነ ኮድ ብትጽፉ fancy የሆነ አፕ ብትሰሩ if it's not solving a business issue at hand, be it societal, be it individual, be it governmental, there is no point. ስለዚህ ያ ዲጂታል ስኪል ሴት ስንል ኮሌክቲቭ የሆነ ኖሃው ያስፈልጋልና እዛ ላይ ፎከስ እንድታደርጉ በጣም አበረታታችኋለሁ። So and also we collectively have to change the Africa's technology narrative መቀየር አለብን። ምክንያቱም አፍሪካ ላይ ያለው ነገር ሁሌ የምለው ነው የሚቆጨኝ ነገር ነው import mentality. I don't know if you guys watched my interview with the Prime Minister. One of the questions I asked him was, there's this stigma and import mentality. Yeah, why do I have to always import and use somebody else's stuff? So narrative መቻል አለብን። ከሆነ I think we can push the needle a little bit. Of course, for a true change to come, ቅድም እንዳልኩት critical የሆኑ basic እና major የሆኑ ለውጦች ያስፈልጋሉ። improving internet access, making finance available for tech startups. That's a huge pain that we are all dealing with. Every speech አጋጣሚ ባገኘ ቁጥር ይሄን ነገር ሳልጠቀስ አላልፍም። ወደፊትም እጠቅሰዋለሁ። ይሄ ችግር ከኢትዮጵያ እስኪፈታ ድረስ ሲሚንቶ እና ካርታና ፌሮ ካላሳያችሁ ባንክ ዞር ብሎ የማያይን ሰዎች ነን። የኔና የእናንተ አይነቶቹ ዲጂታል ስፔስ ላይ ያሉ ሰዎች አንትርፕረነር መሆን እንፈልጋለን የምንል ሰዎች it's very hard for us to get finance, especially local financing. እንግዲህ ደግሞ የሚደረገው local financing ነው። of course international foreign direct investment ያስፈልጋል፣ ግን የራሱ ደግሞ ድሮባክ አለው እሱም። ስለዚህ በተቻለ መጠን ካልቸራችን ያን ኢምፕሬስ አድርጎ ለቴክስት ስታርትአፕ ቶለራንስ ሪስክ ቶለራንስ የሚመቻችበትን ሁኔታ ፋይናንሻል ሞዴል ቢፈጠር ነው እንግዲህ ይህንን ነገር አጀንዳውን ወደፊት መግፋት የምንችለው። ስለዚህ ይሄ ነገር በጣም ያስፈልጋል። እናንተም እዚህ ነገር ላይ ባገኛችሁ አጋጣሚ አድቮኬት ማድረግ መቻል አለባችሁ። so with all this setback የሚገርመው ግን ወደ አፍሪካ ልመልሳችሁ እና ከአፍሪካችን ኢንስፓይሬሽን ልታገኙ ፈልገው instead of talking about the West, right? በዚህ ሁሉ ቻሌንጅ በዚህ ሁሉ ስትራግልስ ግን አፍሪካ is becoming home for rapidly growing tech sector። ይሄ መረጃ ስለ አፍሪካ የምታገኙት ሆነ ይሄ በጣም የምታገኙት መረጃ ነው። በብዛት አሁን የብዙ የዓለም አቀፍ አቴንሽን የሳበ ነገር ነው። አፍሪካ ቴክ ስታርትአፕስ actually for your information in 2019 last year, I mean this year is crazy with the pandemic and everything else, but 2019 $2.02 ቢሊዮን ሬዝ ማድረግ ችሏል። አጠቃላይ የአፍሪካ የቴክ ስታርትአፕ ኢኮሲስተም ከፎሬን ዳይሬክት ኢንቨስትመንት that is 74% increase from the previous year 2018። ስለዚህ ኦልሞስት በምን ያህል በሶስት እጥፍ እንዳደገ ነው የምታዩት ነገር ማለት ነውና ይሄ ነገር በጣም ኢንካሬጅ ያደርጋል። ስለዚህ ይሄ ነገር በጣም ባለን ቻሌንጅ ላይ ሁሉ እንዳለ ሆኖ ይሄ ነገር በጣም ደስ የሚያሰኝ ነገር ነው። so while no one country can be presenting the entire continent, የናይጄሪያን እንደ ኢንስፓይሬሽን ልጠቅስላችሁ ፈልጋለሁ። I'm sure ብዙ ነገር ዲጂታል ስፔስ ላይ ያላችሁ ሰዎች ናችሁ። I'm sure you guys follow that, but the Nigeria model is just amazing. It's growing now. Initially, the private sector was struggling by themselves. Now, the government parties and public sector policymakers are creating this regulatory framework to make it plausible and fertile private startups to do this kind of tech startup. And as Salam mentioned earlier, Paystack is the best inspiring news that we heard about Africa's startup, right? Just a few days ago, got acquired by Stripe, one of the biggest payment platform here in the States, for $200 million. I mean, that is unheard of. That's amazing, really, because for ነገሩን በጣም ደስ የሚያሰኝ ምንድነው Paystack is founded by 2 Nigerians, so local Nigerians. Most of the initial stage was backed by locally funded. In all that, of course, well, once they go out for Series A, Series B, they were able to bring in international VC fund. But it's an organically it's an amazing African story. Then it got an attention by one of the biggest payment platforms, Stripe, to go out to Africa and say, instead of dumping their software on us, they saying that let's buy it out and then expand that organically grown solution across Africa. So that's an amazing story. So this is the kind of thing that we need to hear as Ethiopian, developers and as my people aspire to. The other example is Jumia. Jumia is e-commerce platform now, again starting from Nigeria. Of course, it has its own ups and downs, and it's general Nigeria with general balance. Of course, ተቀማጭነቱን በጀርመን አድርጎ ብዙ የመጀመሪያዎቹ ኮፋውንደሮች ብዙ ሮል ባይኖራቸውም ግን it started, it was born in Nigeria, and it's actually one of the first or the only unicorn ነበር በወቅቱ IPO ሲደረግ IPO እንደምታውቁት ኢኒሻል ፐብሊክ ኦፈሪንግ ነው የኒውዮርክ ስቶክ ኤክስቼንጅ ላይ ኤግዚት አድርጎ በአሁኑ ሰዓት ላይ ስቶኩ እየተሸጠ ነው የሚገኘው በእርግጥ በጣም ላሽቆ የተለያየ አይነት ውጣ ላይ የሚገኘው ግን they still thriving, so they still trying hard. So that's another inspirational story, right? So this is the kind of story that we need to hear Africa instead of talking about only the West benchmark. So in Nigeria, tech sector, by the way, generates about 10% of the country's economic output. This is actually a year-old information. It might even be a different story now. And the projection, it might be too ambitious, but by 2021, Nigeria is expected to generate $88 billion from tech sector and creating 3 million jobs. I mean, 200 million ላለበት ሀገር, it might not be far-fetched, but that's the expectation. And I wouldn't be surprised if they can achieve it maybe not next year, but a few years from now. And Kenya also is another story. 11% of their economic output is from tech sector. So it's an amazing story that we're hearing and seeing within our own continent. So ያንን ለኢትዮጵያ ኢንተርናላይዝ አድርገን ከነሱ ልምድ ወስደን because ተቀራራቢ ኢኮኖሚ ተቀራራቢ ማይንድሴት ተቀራራቢ ላንድስኬፕ ያለው ስለሆነ ከነሱ ጋር ማነጻጸር ነው የሚሻለው instead of saying the gap between the West and Ethiopia. ስለዚህ I'm sure ይሄን እንደሚጠቅማችሁ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ. When I talk about Kenya and all that, and Ghana is the next big digital hub, it doesn't come with a problem, to be honest with you. የኢኩዊቲ ችግር አለ, playing field ለሁሉም የማይመቻች የመሆኑ ችግር አለ. Actually, we'll save this conversation for another time more. በሌላ አጋጣሚዎች ስለዚህ ነገር ስታወሩ የሚገጥማቸው ጊዜ ቅርብ ይሆናል አንዳንድ ማስባቸው ነገሮች ስላሉ. Because Kenya, for example, 94% of startups in Kenya that receive $1 million or up from venture capital are founded by expats or Western co-founders. This is a very troubling number because ሎካሊ የተቋቋሙት ስታርታፖች ይህን ያህል የገንዘብ መዋጮ ወይም ደግሞ ኢንቨስትመንት ኦፖርቹኒቲ ያገኙ ማለት ነው። ያ መድሎ በጣም የሚያሳዝን ነው። Same situation in Ghana. 88% of tech startups receiving $1 million or above from foreign direct investment venture capital fund are founded not by local Ghanaians or local entrepreneurs, but co-founders from outside of that country, expats. And Uganda is also a problem, 76%. In Nigeria was a problem, now it's 50-50. South Africa as well. So while we are fostering this global partnership, we also have to be conscious about creating that equal playing field for ለእናንተ ምክንያቱም ከውጭ በመጣችሁ እንድትዋጡና አጠይነዘዴ ተቀጣሪ ብቻ እንድትሆኑ አይፈለግም። እናንተም ስታርታፕ ከሆናችሁ ያ ነገር ለእናንተ መደረግ አለበት. So that's the biggest problem while we are continuously engaging with the global players. This has to be balanced, so I hope that we can fight for that. The same thing in South Africa. I mean, the biggest thing. So I don't want to bore you with that statistics. There's another thing. I think Salam mentioned about the gender gap. Right? Gender gap has to be one of the most serious things that we need to pay attention while we are talking about this, because ሴቶች እህቶቻችን በስቴም ላይ ሳይንስ፣ ቴክኖሎጂ፣ ኢንጂነሪንግ፣ ማት ላይ ብቃታቸው ከወንዶች ከዛም በላይ በሆነበት ሁኔታ ላይ ነገር ግን ተሳትፏቸው ማርጂናላይዝድ ሆነ ይገኛል። ያንን ፊክስ ካላደረግን as a society, as a country, we can't go anywhere. And then በጣም የሚያሳፍርም የሚያናድድም ነገር ነው። ስለዚህ ይሄ ነገር መስተካከል አለበት። የሚገርመው ነገር ደግሞ African women are more actually entrepreneurial than their countermen. ይሄ የተጠና ነው ሮናልድ በርገር የሚባል አናሊስት የሰራው እና 26% ቶታል አንትርፕሪነር ሬት ከሰብሳሃራን አፍሪካ ውስጥ ያሉ የአፍሪካ ሀገር ውስጥ ያሉ ሴቶቹ ናቸው ሞር የፈጠራ የስራ የመፍጠር ብቃት ያላቸው። ነገር ግን የሚያሳዝነው ግን ብቃቱ ያላቸው when it comes to funding them $42 billion የፈንዲንግ ጋፕ አለ between ሴት entrepreneurs and ወንድ entrepreneurs ይሄ according to African Development Bank። ስለዚህ ይሄን ነገር ካላስተካከለንና እንደዚህ ሚሶጂኒስት የሆነ ሴቶችን የማያካትት እየቻሉ እንደሚችሉ እየታወቀ እነሱን ኢንክሉሲቭ የማያደርግ ዲጂታል ኢኮሲስተም እና ቴክ ኢኮሲስተም እንፈጥራለን ማለት it's bluffing and it's not acceptable። so ይሄንንም እናንተም እንደ ግሩፕ ሆናችሁ ፋይት በምታደርጉ ጊዜ ወንዶችም እዚህ ውስጥ ያላችሁ ሴቶች ይሄንን ነገር ሁልጊዜ ቮካል መሆን አለባችሁ ባገኛችሁ ነገር። So, I mean, in kind of conclusion, right? So, as the world is heading towards that fourth industrial revolution, AI, 3D printing, smart sensing, IoT, big data, and cognitive analytics, and cloud, and AR, and VR, and all this fancy ነገር በምንጠራበት ጊዜ Africa, still, struggling and grappling between digitizing and automating services and activities and protecting the more value, because በእነዚህ ነገሮች ሲመጣ anything has a double-edged sword. ስለዚህ ያን በመናደርግበት ጊዜ እንደገና ደግሞ leapfrog እንደዚህ በጣም አድቫንስ የሆኑ ነገሮችን leapfrog አድርገን ተፈናጥረን ልንጠቀምባቸው እንችላለን። ነገር ግን we has to be ከኛ ፍላጎት ከኛ የፕሮብሌም ሁኔታ ጋር መታረቅ አለባቸው። ፋንሲ ስለሆነ ብቻ ቴክኖሎጂን አንጠቀም። AI ስለተባለ AI ስኩል ስለተባለ አይደለም really ግራውንድ ላይ ያለውን ፕሮብሌም ይፈታል ወይ? ከፈታ ደግሞ በትክክለኛ መንገድ ይፈታል። ቫልዩአችንን ሳያናጋ ሌላ ሞኖፖሊና manipulate ሳያደርግ ችግራችን ይፈታል የሚለው መታወቅ አለበት። ስለዚህ leapfrogging is good, embracing the latest technology is good, but bottom line, the basic question you guys always have to ask as technologists, responsibility ነው how is it solving my core problem, my country's core problem የሚለው ነገር ሁሉ ጊዜ ማሰብ መቻል ይጠበቅብናል ማለት ነው as we are trying to change this fourth industrial revolution ሌላ ዓለም እየገባበት ያለው ከደም እኛ ገና ወደዛ ውስጥ እየገባን ነው። so of course advantage አለን late comers እንሆን ገና የዛሬ 40 ዓመት የነበረውን ቴክኖሎጂ ከመጠቀም ይልቅ ዛሬ ላይ ያለው ተፈናጥረን መጠቀም እንችላለን። ግን we scare and with that business case mentality ሁሉ ጊዜ one of my good friend not my good friend but virtual friend and የኛው የሆነችው አበባ ብርሃኔን ታቋት እንደሆነ አላውቅም. I think you should have her for next conversation. She's doing her PhD in Ireland and she did this amazing article titled algorithmic colonization of Africa. የአልጎሪዝም የአፍሪካ ቅኝ ግዛት በሚል ያለውን ፓራሌል አሁን ዲጂታል ኮሎናይዜሽን ቢል ይመጣ እንደሚችል ከድሮ ከዋናው ፊዚካል ከሆነው ቅኝ ግዛት ጋር ከመቶዎች ዓመት ከነበረው ጋር እያነጻጸረች ምን ያህል አፍሪካ ለዚህ ነገር ልቃት ህሊና እንደሚያስፈልጋት ምን ያህል ይሄ ነገር በትኩረት ማየት እንዳለብን እና የራሳችን ፊውቸር በዲጂታል ፊውቸር መወሰን ያለብን እኛ እንደሆንን የተናገረችበት አርቲክል አለ። if you search algorithmic colonization of Africa on Google you'll find her article. It's just amazing. So yeah, I would strongly recommend you checking that out. And some of the things that I'm going to tell you as a wrap up is actually some of the things that I read from that and I've been agreed with that sense. So yeah, major obstacles አሉን skill gap አለን infrastructure backlog አለን ችግር አለብን። ነገር ግን for thinking African policymakers with youth innovators like you and respond እያደረግን ነው በተቻለ መጠን ዲጂታል ነገር ውስጥ ለመቀላቀል ዲጂታል ትራንስፎርሜሽን ውስጥ ለመግባት። ነገር ግን ያን ስናደርግ ግን consciously now responsibly ማድረግ አለብን። So as Ethiopia is going digital and harnessing this technology to drive development, ዌልፌራችንን ደህንነታችንን ችግራችንን የምንፈታበትን መንገድ እያስተካከልንና just ከዌስት ሁሉ ነገር ስለመጣ ብቻ ወይም ደግሞ የዌስት ስታርታፖችን ብቻ ጥቅም ለማስከበር ወይም የዌስተርን ቴክ ሞኖፖሊ ተጽዕኖ እንዲያድርብን በማድረግ ብቻ መሆን የለበትም። ስለዚህ እዚህ ላይ ነቅታችሁ ወጣቶች ናችሁ ትኩስ ኃይል ናችሁ በዚህ ላይ እናንተን አክቲቪዝም መጠቀም አለባችሁ። ስለዚህ ዲጂታል አክቲቪዝም is not only for ፖለቲካ ዲጂታል አክቲቪዝም ኢኩዊቲ ሶሻል ዌልቢንግ ሁሉ በምትሰሩ ስራ ውስጥ ሊያስፈልጋል። ግን ፖለቲካ ውስጥ መሰማራት የለባችሁም ለሶሳይቲያችሁ ለመቆም። ስለዚህ ይህን ነገር በትክክልና በንቃተ ህሊና መከታተል ይኖርብናል ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ናሬሽኑን መቀየር አለበት ትላለች አበባ። እኔም እስማማለሁ። ስለዚህ ኢምፖርት ሲደረጉ ፕሮዳክቶቹ አንዳንድ ጊዜ መልእክቱ ምንድነው እናንተ አትችሉም እናንተ ጋር የእናንተ ታሪክ ታሪክ እናንተ ታሪክ ችግር እናንተ ታሪክ ማስመጣት ነው እንጂ የራሳችሁን ትፈታላችሁ አለን ግን እኛ አሜዚንግ ፊሎሶፊ አለን አርት አለን ሚውዚክ አለን ብላ አባባት እናገራችሁ እኔ ምስማማ ነው ስለዚህ ያንን እንዴት አድርገን ነው ክሬቲቪቲ አወር ካልቸር ከኢኖቬሽን ጋር ከዲጂታል ጋር ብሌንድ አድርገን የራሳችንን ዩኒክ የሆነ ሶሉሽን መስጠት የምንችለው እዛ ላይም በጣም ማሰብ ያለብን ይመስለኛል ማለት ነው So as a closing ልላችሁ ፈልገው አንድ ነገር አለ ምንድነው ይሄኛው ትንሽ ወጣ ያለ ነው just inspirational ነገር እንዲሆንላችሁ ስለምፈልግ ነው ፎከሳችሁን ሪዘልቱ ላይ ሳይሆን ፕሮሰሱ ላይ እንድታረጉ ኢንከሬጅ አድርጋችሁ አቆማለሁ ምን ማለት ነው ብዙ ጊዜ የሆነ ነገር ስላላችሁ ለምሳሌ የጂም ሜታፎር ብንጠቀም ማስኩሊን መሆን ከፈለጋችሁ ነው በቃ መስል የሚያነሳ አንድ ሰው ትልጥፋላችሁ ግድግዳ ላይ just want to be that him ተላላችሁ ወይም ደግሞ ክብደት መቀነስ ከፈለጋችሁ ሊን የሆነ አብዶመን እንዲኖራችሁ ከፈለጋችሁ ያ ሪዘልት ያላችሁ ሪዘልቱን ማየት ወይ ደግሞ በጣም የሚገርም የባዲ ፊገር ያለውን አንድ ማስኩሊን ሰው ግድግዳ ላይ ተፋችሁ እያያችሁ that's the result I'm going to get ያላችሁ ብትኖሩ are you going to achieve anything you're not going to achieve anything ስለዚህ ሪዘልት ላይ ፎከስ ማድረግ የሚያስፈልግባችሁ ሁኔታዎች አሉ but with the software and with startup and with digital ecosystem and creating solutions I think result like focus karagachu you're just going to end up with having the design and do nothing but process like focus on the component and it's going to lead you to the result right again with the gym metaphor bemata okay I want to have a good body so I need to work out right so work out the process ነው በጣም painful ነው እንደምታውቁት ለምሳሌ ቦርጭ መቀነስ ቢፈልግ ሰው በጣም excruciating የሆነ sit up moto sit up and all that and ሌሎችም በጣም የአብዶሚናል የሆኑ ኤክሰርሳይሶች መስራት አለበት and it's painful ስትጀምሩ ስትራፕ አለው ማስለቀሳችሁ ይችላል አረዲ በቀረኝ ፒስ ትስላላችሁ and it's routine ሊያሰለችሁ ይችላል for example ጡንቻ ማውጣት ከፈለጋችሁ you just have to just keep lifting when you think about it, it's just routine it's just do it over and over again I'm tired of this what የተነሳው ይርኩኝ but it's a process it's going to get you to the results ስለዚህ ኮድ ላይም ፌል ብታረጉ አልጎሪዝም የጻፋችሁ ባይመጣላችሁ የምትፈልጉት ኮምፓይሌሽን ኤረር ቢመጣባችሁ ኦኬ ፓይተን አልሰራም ሲ ሻርፕ ልጀምር ሲ ሻርፕ አልሰራም ምናምን just do it over and over again focus on that process and of course have a result but do not focus on the result just focus on the process and it will lead you to the result ultimately so I hope this gym metaphor is going to help you actually I heard it from one gym athlete focus on the results focus on the process not the results ቀጥታ እኔ ደግሞ ቴክኒካል ማይንድሴት ወደ ኮዲንግ ወደ ዲጂታል እና ወደ ስታርትአፕ and ወደ ኢኖቬሽን ነው internalize ያደረኩት so I hope that's going to help you out so ይሄንን ሁላችሁም ፈልገው በርቱ you guys are doing awesome does that ነገር organize ማድረግ በራሱ it's an amazing thing and የምትፈልጉት ነገር ካለ እንግዲህ ያው በቴሌቪዥን እንታያለን ሶሻል ሚዲያ ላይ አለው በምችለው መንገድ ሁሉ try to support the cause and the youth because ልብ ለዩት and the ወጣቱ ያለኝ ልብ ሰፊ ነው ይሄን ይመስላል አመሰግናለሁ
Okay, thank you very much Solomon for this amazing talk we learned a lot so I hope we all got the idea of how we can move forward from both Salam's and Solomon's talk we heard that other people from other countries are coming here to do our job for us so we need to be more motivated and do more to be part of this solution so ጥያቄ ካለ ያልጠየቁም ድል ካለ መዝጋት አይደለም ሰው ጥያቄ ያለው ካለ I can entertain couple of questions ይቅርታ yeah sure so if you have any questions you can ask on the chat box maybe
I have to chat okay
maybe if there are fast ones we can maybe answer one or two questions so type them out
I think አንደኛው ጥያቄ ከኢዲዲያ የመጣልኝ why do you think it's hard to solve problems here in Ethiopia example why we only have one internet service providers and same goes for power and yeah of course I think surely Lydia infrastructure is something that we can't control I mean it's a public infrastructure it requires a multi-million-dollar investment and policy regulatory framework and all that but ተስፋ እንዲኖረን ማረጋውና አክሽን ውስጥ እየተገባ ያለው እንዳልኳችሁ መግቢያ ላይ well telecom sector is about to change አይደለም አሁን በጣም ደስ የሚል ፖሊሲ ወጥቶ no it's a state monopoly and telecom አገሪቱ ላይ የሚሄድበት ታሪክ ወቅቷል ተብሎ ተወስኖ ህግ ላይ ጸድቆ አክቹዋሊ ኦፕሽኑ በቅርብ እንደሚወጣ ሰምታችሁ እንደሆነ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። ዳት ሚንስ አክቹዋሊ ኢሲኤ የሚባል ኤጀንሲ ተቋቁሟል። ለዛ ነው ቅድም እንዳልኳችሁ don't focus on coding only. Stay very close to the policy, what's going on within the government sector. That's how you can thrive. So ECM የሚባል ኤጀንሲ ተቋቁሟል። ኢትዮጵያን ኮሚኒኬሽንስ ኤጀንሲ በዚህ በአሜሪካን ሀገር ኤፍሲሲ የሚባላል ፌደራል ኮሚኒኬሽንስ ኮሚሽን which is frequency manage የሚያደርግ ፍሪኩዌንሲውን ሬጉሌት የሚያደርግ ፍሪኩዌንሲውን የሚሸጥ የሚያደርግ የሚያስተናብር ነው። ያ አካል ተቋቁሟል። ያ ነው እንግዲህ አሁን ከኢትዮ ቴሌኮም በተጨማሪ የሚወዳደሩት 10ም 15 የሚወዳደሩ ሁለት ላይሰንስ ይሸጣል። ሁለት ላይሰንስ ይመጣል። ስለዚህ ኢትዮ ቴሌኮም ፕላስ ካምፓኒ ኤ ፕላስ ካምፓኒ ቢ ኢትዮጵያ ላይ ይኖራሉ ማለት ነው። ያ ማለት እንግዲህ ሲንግል ፕሮቫይደር የሚለውን ታሪክ ይቀይረዋል። የኤልፓ ጉዳይ እንግዲህ ያው የግድባችንን ጉዳይ የምታውቁት ነው። ሆፕፉሊ that will come very soon። እንደተናደዳችሁ አስባለሁ። እኔ በጣም ተናድጄ ከተናገሩት አንዱ ነኝ። የዚህ ሀገር ፕሬዚዳንት በትላንትናው ዕለት የተናገሩትን አይታችኋል። በዚሁ አጋጣሚ እጅግ የሚያስቆጣ ነው። በሶሻል ሚዲያ ላይ ሁሉ በከፍተኛ ቁጣ የገለጽኩት ነው። ኢርሪስፖንሲብል የሆነ እጅግ በጣም ኋላ ቀር የሆነ ንግግር ነው የተነገረው። hopefully it's not going to hold water by Egyptians. ኢንተርቴን የሚያደርጉን ነገር አይሆንም። well ያ ሲሆን ነው በቂ የሆነ ኤሌክትሪክ ለሀገራችን ማቅረብ የምንችለውን ያደረግን ነው። ነገር ግን እንደዚህ አይነት እጅግ በጣም አሳፋሪ የሆነ ጣልቃ ገብነት በዚህ ነገር ውስጥ ሚና እንደማይኖረው ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። ሶ yes እንቅስቃሴው አለ እንግዲህ so I hope ያ ሲመጣ እኛም በግላችን የምናደርገው ነገር በማድረግ ወደ የሚፈለገው ነገር እንደምንሄድ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ።
Okay, thank you again, Solomon. So maybe if you have time, you can answer some of their question on the chat box, or maybe at the last moment we might give you a session where you can answer what is most important question that you think of.
I think አንደኛው ምናልባት I think that's not my expert area, but I think it's a very important question that I see here. That I heard Ethiopia is soon going to be enlisted as a member of WTO. What do you think about the essence of this reform to the tech startups? I think the WTO lesson branding and patents, and I think intellectual property is going to become very important. And actually a startup proclamation act ቅድም ያልኳችሁ በቅርቡ ተግባራዊ ይሆናል የተባለው ላይ በጣም ወሳኝ ነገር ነው። እኛ ኖሌጅ ቤዝድ ላይ ስራ የምንሰራ ሰዎች እናንተም ወደ ስራ ስትገቡ ስታርታፕ ሲኖራችሁ ወይ ተቀጣችሁ ሰሩ ትልቁ ነገር ፕሮቴክት የሚያደርግላችሁ ነገር ኢንተሌክቹዋል ፕሮፐርቲ ነው። ስለዚህ አይፒ ሩል እና ሎ ያስፈልጋል። ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እንዳለ አውቃለሁ። ነገር ግን ቴክኖሎጂ ተኮር ዲጂታል ተኮር የሆነ ኢኮኖሚ በጣም ስለሌለና ልምምዱ ስላልነበረ ምናልባት እነዛን ኤሪያዎች በትክክል ከቨር ላይ ያደርግ ይችላል። because እኔ ራሴ ኤክስፒሪየንስ ያደረኳቸው አንዳንድ ነገሮች አሉ። አንዳንድ ከቴክኖሎጂ ጋር የተያዙ አንዳንድ ላይሰንሶችን ለማውጣት በመሞከር ጊዜና ያን በምን ጊዜ ጭራሽ ይሄ ነገር በቃ የውጭ ቋንቋ ነው በቃ ማለት ፎሪን ላንጉዌጅ ምንድነው እንዴት ብሎ ራሱ እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ላይሰንስ እንደሚወጣ በጣም ሲስተሙም አይፈቅድም እና አይ ቲንክ ያመስተካከል አለበት። ኢንተሌክቹዋል ፕሮፐርቲ not only protecting ተጨባጭ የሆኑ ቁሶችን የዕቃ ዲዛይኖችን ነገር ግን ሶፍትዌር አለኝ ይሄ ሶፍትዌር ፕሮቴክት እንዲደረግ እፈልጋለሁ ሲባል ስታንዳርድ ተጠብቆለት ይሄ ሶፍትዌር ይሄ አፕ ይሄ አልጎሪዝም ይሄ ነገር የገሌ ኢንተሌክቹዋል ፕሮፐርቲ ተብሎ መጠበቅ አለበት። ይሄ ነው ከኢንተርናሽናል ኢኮሲስተሙ ጋር ኢንተግሬት እንድናደርግ የሚያደርገን። ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥም ይሄ ቢዝነስ ይሄ ኢኮሲስተም እንዲያደርግና ኢንከሬጅ እንዲሆን የሚያደርገው። ስለዚህ አይ ሆፕ ይሄ ነገር እንግዲህ አንዱ ትኩረት ያገኛል ብዬ ማስበው ነገር ነው።
Okay, all right. So let's move on to our next session. So the next session is going to be what's next? What are we going to do next? How are we going to work continuing this community? So there will be a presentation by Habib and Ruth, both the DSC leads. So I will leave the stage for them. Enjoy.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. So this has been a great session. It's actually turned out really unexpected. Such all speakers. I mean, to continue on speaking after Solomon is just a hard challenge, to keep up the energy that he created, this motivation and all of you guys. It's been really awesome. And I would like to thank everyone who's been a guest speaker on this. So thank you very much, Solomon, for being part of this session. And also, I hope we have more of these sessions. This wouldn't be the last session of DSC. So we hope to have more sessions. So I saw a lot of questions here. Hopefully there will be answers throughout different sessions. This is all what DSC is about. So what I'm trying to do right now is just, summarize all of this and how is this going to be related, I'm gonna give some time on about tech, really inspiring stories, really inspiring ideas, but how is this all related to DSC, right? So you might be asking that question. So my topic would be just, give you a summary of what has been said and how that would be translated to being part of DSC. So I hope you guys can see this presentation. I'm just gonna start this. Entire screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. So I'll start the presentation slides right now. Okay. Are you able to see the slides correctly?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So just to give you an introduction, I'm Habib Mohammed. I'm the lead of this year DSC AIT at the Savannah Institute of Technology. So DSC AIT has been established for 2 years. Last year was also part of this movement. So I've been a core team. So what I'll try to do is basically show you guys why you should be part or why you should care about DSC, how all of this, relate to DSC. So basically, I'll just go over the topics that has been mentioned in the introductions and all with the DSC. So the main focus of DSC is basically for you as a developer, as a student, and as a programmer to enhance and forward your career in the development world. So basically, the major goal of this is growing your skills. So teaching your skills, what you learn, and even new skills that you haven't learned in school, through this DSC sessions that you're able to get a chance, to gain new knowledge, enhance your previous knowledge and practice what you already have. So the main focus on this is that we're going to host basically sessions that are supportive of, growing your skill as a developer. So last year on DSC AIT, we had a session of programming sessions that are like study jams, continuous study jams. And then this year, we're going to continue those DSC events, such as hackathons. There are going to be study jams. There are going to be basically boot camps that support you and, to do a lot of stuff and practice your programming language and your programming skills and actual problems. And also the mentioned, the Solution Challenge program that's going to happen the year. So these are all events that are related to that help you grow your skills that you learn and practice them in real life, because that's what it matters at the end of the day. It's not just what you heard about in school, it's just how much that you practice this in the real life. So that's what we're trying to focus on majorly. So the next thing is, as you just noticed right here, is that a lot of you guys has been like asking a lot of questions. This by itself, this event by itself, gave I hope it gave that the possibility to to interact with a lot of big speakers in this session, so that you get to ask your questions that you have been forwarding in the chat board. So most of them are not mentioned. I saw them on the chat. So this obviously couldn't be all mentioned and grouped into a session, but what we're trying to do is help you get to connect with a lot of startup founders, tech experts, motivational speakers that will, forward your career into what you want it to be. So the most important thing as building a startup, I believe, is, having connection with other people's on your surroundings. So this will provide you a great opportunity, to meet your next founder on the DSC team. You never know. So this will just give you connections upon the DSC team by itself, and also even the core team members who have already basic knowledge or basic skills on the startup or even the tech world can give or share their information with them. So apart from my DSC and AIT role, I'm currently a startup founder called Ahun. You could check it out if you have never heard of it. Basically, it's a social media. It's a social way of discovering places and events around Addis. So it started out as just a fun little thing, through second year. Now it's grown into a company that has been funded, seed funded for our first seed funding round. So we're trying to make some change, some things happen in this community. So if you haven't tried it out, you can check it for yourself. Let me know what you think of it. So basically, from the core team members, you can gain knowledge from them, and also apart from the core team members, you get to be able to chance to from the outside of this DSC environment, you get to get connected with a lot of talented individuals and sharing knowledge with them. So basically, we want to provide also connections for you to help you forward your careers. So and also, if you are applying for masters after your degrees, you might need some kind of certifications for this that you want to hold. So if you have any other stuff that you need certification for, obviously these programs, based on the types and based on your performance, can get you a chance to get certified, right? So certification could be provided for attending the sessions, for outstanding performance on the sessions. So that is also one of the benefits that you can get from being a Developer Students Club member. And lastly, that I wanted to mention is that you get to be able to lead the DSC team for the next. So it's not going to be a one-year thing. It's always going to be continued. This DSC team overall, so the university's lifespan is going to continue forward. So for the next year, you'll be able to lead this committee, which by itself brings a lot of opportunity with the global networks and gives you a lot of connections and a lot of chances to get out there, to get to know stuff and to meet awesome people and be part of influencing these students and the clubs. So this by itself gives you a lot of chances. I myself was part of the DSC team last year, as I mentioned. Not only part of the DSC team, I was part of the core team and organized some Flutter sessions around the year. So if we have met on this session, so hi from here. Yeah, basically these are the things that we think that you can gain from this. This is just a short list of what you can get. I'm not going to just say these are the only things that you can get. It's how you utilize this opportunity for yourselves and how you continue your skills throughout this DSC team. So I hope you all enjoyed your night with us. It's almost getting late. Ruth, I think, would forward on the general plan, what we're going to do, and explain some of the sessions, what they mean, and what you can expect as being a DSC member. So Ruth, are you inside the meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. So
you could leave the presentation on for me.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I'm Ruth Kabede. I'm the DSC lead at Hilco School of Computer Science. I'll be running you through the general plan that we have for DSC 2020 and 2021. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so one thing that we've planned to do is to host boot camps and study jams. The boot camps are going to be periodic. So to run you through what a boot camp is, it's a technical training program that teaches the programming skills that you'll need in the workplace in the future. They will enable students with little coding proficiency to focus on the most important aspects of coding and immediately apply their new coding skills to solve real-world problems. This could serve useful when you're learning a new programming language or advancing on ones that you already know. The chosen programming language could vary from campus to campus, but we're going to be doing a periodic boot camp throughout the year. We hope that you'll be able to get something out of this. The other one is study jams. Study jams are events where students get personal tutorings by coaches and study with their peers. These events are going to be organized only for a few days, from from a day to maybe a weekend. So we take a topic and try to take students from being a novice to being intermediate or even proficient. This could be really good for students that are starting to learn a specific programming language or a technology. It makes it easier since they're going to be learning along with their peers. Next slide, please. Okay, one other thing that we have planned for this year is hosting hackathons. So these hackathons, they're events where programmers get together for a short period of time to collaborate on a project. The participants are going to work on the projects rapidly since this program is going to be held from 24 hours to over a weekend. So we'll be hosting this event individually in our campus, or we could do an event like this comprising of all the DSCs in Ethiopia. You're going to have a lot of fun doing these activities while also solving real-world problems. Next slide, please. Okay, the other one is the Solutions Challenge 2021. I think earlier Mohammed Awal Samu explained this. You know, he explained it very well. But to say a bit about it, we're gonna participate in this year's Solutions Challenge. So it invites students to develop solutions for local challenges, and this could be really useful since we're gonna be working on it with teams in our school. So this is the general plan that we have for this year. It could differ from campus to campus. We will